So, 1,000 years ago, beasts from the Black Abyss straight up invaded the human world. But then these monuments appeared out of nowhere and they gave humanity just barely enough of a chance to survive. These monuments granted people special powers called professions, and just like that, humans started fighting back. After grinding levels over time, humanity finally managed to push the beasts back into the Black Abyss and reclaim their land. Since then, Huaxia built its provincial capitals around the 9 monuments. Every year, a special ceremony is held to choose high school students who will become the next generation of defenders against the Black Abyss. But the beasts haven't truly disappeared, they're still lurking in the dark. And to stop them for good, the young need to grow stronger. Year 53, Job Transfer Day at the Linchin City Monument Branch. A man stepped on stage and announced the start of the ceremony. Soon, the monument would assign professions to each student based on their talents. No matter if they got a combat or support role, every one of them had a duty to serve their nation, Huaxia. The future literally rested on their shoulders. The students were buzzing with excitement. After grinding through 18 years of studying, they'd finally awaken their powers. One student was praying for a combat role so he could join a guild and rake in easy money. The guy next to him said being a warrior wasn't that simple. Their school only had a 50% success rate for combat roles. Then they spotted a quiet student nearby and started laughing. Lin Tianhao was knocked out cold during the ceremony. Everyone at school knew him as the ultimate slacker. If he even got a support profession, that alone would be a miracle. One of them joked that a useless class like Beast Tamer would suit him perfectly, and that's when Lin Tianhao finally woke up. This guy, dead last in the rankings at Linchin City High School. After crossing over into this world, he'd somehow made it to this day. He quietly wondered what kind of profession he'd receive. The dude who mocked him walked over and asked what profession he wanted. Tianhao answered with a grin his goal was an S-rank talent or a hidden class. They laughed right in his face, telling him to stop dreaming. They said he probably wouldn't even get a life-type class. After all, in the last potential test, he only scored a C based on that. Tianhao knew his chances were slim. His stats were rough: strength 2.9, intelligence 2.8, constitution 1.6, spirit 1.7, agility 1.5, and C potential rating. Still, he believed a nobody could rise up and become great, especially since he'd already crossed over into another world. If that was possible, then so was a miracle. That's why he still held on to hope for a good profession. Soon it was time for Class 2 from Linchin City No. 1 High School to take the stage. Names were called one by one. First up, Wang Dong. In his mind, he wanted that loser Tianhao to watch him shine during the job transfer. The facilitator explained that the process would take about 5 seconds. If he felt any discomfort, that was normal, just bear with it. He placed his hand on the monument. A bright light flashed and the transfer was a success. His new class, Warrior, the dude was thrilled. A system window popped up showing that his talent was C rank. The facilitator told him that even a C rank was impressive among regular people and wished him success as a warrior. He was told head to the Linchin City Guild Center where pros would teach him how to use his new skills. Some girls who liked him squealed as he passed by. They told him not to forget about them once he made it big. Others were jealous. Being a warrior meant stable work for life. While showing off, he bumped right into Tianhao. He said he didn't even notice someone was there. Turns out it was just their class's dead weight. Wang Dong had always bullied him, and now that he had a powerful job, Tianhao figured things would only get worse. Other students circled around. They called Dong out for not saying sorry after bumping into him. One even said he found Tianhao annoying. They joked that with his long face he probably thought he looked cool, but Dong just waved it off. Said he was in too good a mood to let trash ruin it. He invited the guys for drinks at the tavern that night. Tianhao wondered how a bully like Dong could become a warrior. It only made him more curious about what job he'd get. The bullies kept talking about him too. They were sure his job would be nothing compared to Dong's. Then the facilitator called out the next name. It was Tianhao's turn. He walked toward the monument. As he stood there, he silently prayed. He didn't care what class he got as long as it could help him survive. He held his breath. Then he placed his hand on the monument. Lightning sparked from it. Seeing that flash, he felt a little hopeful. Maybe things were finally turning around for him. Everyone waited for the result. The light slowly faded. The facilitator told him to brace himself. His job was Summoner. Tianhao looked disappointed. The crowd burst into laughter. Summoner was known as sewer tier profession. Technically a combat class, sure, but raising summoned creatures was expensive and barely worth it. That's why people thought it was a trash job. They pitied him for getting the worst class possible. Life wasn't going to be easy. But then, something popped up. A system message appeared saying it had detected his awakening. His true identity, Abyssal Lord, he would now be granted a random SS-level talent. The The system explained that with the Abyssal Lord path, he would gain a random SSS level talent every 10 levels. Tianhao tried to wrap his head around it. If that was true, he could get 10 SSS talents by level 100, then a ticket was handed to him by the facilitator. He stared at it as the system announced the start of the draw. It then congratulated him. He had received the SSS talent Demonic Sacrifice. Demonic Sacrifice lets the user give up a portion of their max HP permanently to instantly level up a summoned creature and turn it into a demon, granting it divine powers from hell. Even after being demonized, the creature can still gain experience and grow stronger through battle. The cost was steep, a permanent loss of HP, but as a summoner he didn't need to fight directly. As long as his summons were powerful enough, he'd be safe, and he could use gear that increased his max HP to make up for the loss. The system explained, for every 100 max HP he gave up, the summoned creature would gain 1 level. Right now, he had 1000 HP. If he kept at least 100 for himself, that meant he could instantly boost one summon to level 9. Still, he knew it was risky. He planned to use the skill carefully. Since he stayed quiet, people assumed he was upset. The facilitator tried to comfort him, saying there were still other paths in life. Tianhao thanked her and said he would make something of himself. Even then, the crowd still looked worried. Someone in the audience suggested he should just go home and think things through. Tianhao admitted that summoners were seen as weak and useless, but he'd already decided he would become the strongest summoner in the world. A few hours later, he arrived home. His sister asked how it went. He simply answered, "Summoner." She immediately felt sorry for him. She'd just come out of the shower and was only wearing a towel with a small one draped over her shoulder. Tianhao grabbed it and began drying her hair. She told him that next year when she gets her profession, she'd become a mage and protect him. He shoved the towel back at her and told her not to worry about him. She should focus on keeping herself safe. She pouted, saying he was bullying her again. Just then, he got a message and immediately told her he was heading out. The message said there would be an assembly. He wasn't sure what it was about but decided to check it out. The teacher informed the class that the job transfer results were quite good. There were 5 warriors, 8 mages, 11 support roles, and 1 summoner. Dong, who was sitting behind Tianhao, scoffed that a worthless person ended up with a worthless class. They mocked the summoner, convinced that getting 1 meant his life was basically over. Because Tianhao's situation was a bit unusual, the teacher handed him a beginner's guide to help out. Tianhao expressed his thanks. The teacher then added that if Tianhao ever ran into problems, he should come to him for help. After that, he told him to return to his seat. Tianhao felt a bit overwhelmed when he saw how thick the book was. It confirmed his suspicion. Being a summoner put him at the absolute bottom of the hierarchy. Next, the teacher addressed the class, explaining that they'd been gathered because the school wanted to collect detailed data on everyone who successfully changed jobs. All the job change students would be present, so he warned them not to embarrass him. The group headed outside for the aptitude test. The instructor announced that they'd begin. A mage went first. He struck the testing device and received a respectable score of 73, indicating decent talent. Then it was Dong's turn. He hit the machine with his sword and scored 89. Clearly one of the top students. Tianhao was called up next. He'd read about a basic summoning spell in the book but hadn't actually tried it yet. Still, he chose to trust the process and hoped it would work. He opened the book and began to read the spell. A breeze started swirling around him. Everyone was caught off guard by the sudden gust of strong wind. Dust filled the area, making it hard to tell whether he'd successfully summoned anything. When the dust finally settled, a slime appeared on the ground. Tianhao was stunned. The entire class burst into laughter. The slime looked too cute to be taken seriously. It was hard to imagine it fighting anything. Someone even joked that it was only good for cleaning floors. The slime clung to his leg, and he could hardly believe this was his summoned creature. The status window revealed its stats: level 1, 500 HP, 9 attack power with 2 skills, corrosive slime and slime spit. Tianhao frowned. With only 9 attack power, it felt like it wouldn't even leave a scratch. The teacher asked everyone to settle down so they could see the test result. They all turned to the board and saw a score of 9, nothing more. The room went dead silent in disbelief. While the students laughed, the teacher tried to offer some words of encouragement. Tianhao asked if he could give it another shot. The teacher allowed it. He decided to test his class's unique ability. By using sacrifice, his summoned creature could be permanently demonized and upgraded. He chose to spend 200 points just to try it out. The other students looked on with confusion. To them, it didn't matter how many times he tried. They believed nothing would change. His total HP dropped from 1,000 to 800. Then a bolt of red lightning struck the slime. Its body began to twist and shift. Everyone stared in anticipation. The transformation continued, growing more intense. And when it was over, Tianhao stood before his new companion. A demonized slime. Now at level 3 it had 1200 HP, 120 attack power, and 3 skills: Corrosive Slime, Slime Spit, and Dance of the Demon. The once blue slime had turned crimson and grown 2 sharp horns. He launched the attack. The slime leapt into the air, then in a flash it dashed forward and struck the target cleanly. All eyes turned to the scoreboard. For a moment it flickered like it had short-circuited. Everyone was stunned by the result. It displayed a score of 120. They couldn't believe how strong he was. It seemed impossible for him to get such a high score, especially when Dong had only scored 89. Dong was in total disbelief. He questioned how that could have happened. Even the legendary war god of Huaxia, Fang Changyun, had only managed a score of 101 back in his day. The idea that Tianhao hit 120 was hard to accept. He accused Tianhao of tampering with the machine, pointing out that he took the test twice. His lackeys backed him up. They told the teacher that jumping from 9 to 120 was highly suspicious. Tianhao admitted to himself that he did interfere, but only by using his class ability on his own summon. The teacher acknowledged that their doubts were reasonable. Tianhao insisted that he didn't cheat. The teacher walked over to inspect the machine. There was a strange colored line across the screen. After examining it carefully, the teacher concluded that the machine had simply malfunctioned. Tianhao hadn't cheated. Dong felt relieved to hear it was just a malfunction. In his mind, there was no way that loser could ever surpass him. He then asked what would happen to Tianhao's score. One of his lackeys quickly chimed in, saying it was clearly 9 points since the machine worked fine the first time and everyone saw it. The teacher announced that because of the malfunction, Tianhao's result would be voided and he'd have to retake the test later. Tianhao was surprised. He was actually being given another shot. Some students protested the decision, accusing the teacher of covering for him, but the teacher stood firm. Since the machine was broken, the testing was over. Those who hadn't taken the test yet, including Tianhao, would get another chance once the machine was repaired. One of the lackeys' eyes flared red, like he was about to start something, but he backed down the moment Dong gave him a cold glare. Dong snurred that even if Tianhao took the test again, trash would still be trash. He told him to keep dreaming. Then he turned to his group and told them to head out with him to the level 1 Black Abyss. Tianhao remembered it as a beginner's dungeon. He figured it'd be the perfect place to test out his demonized slime, so he decided to go there too. The group then took their leave. Later, the repairman arrived and discovered the machine had been damaged by a student, no less. When they saw the extent of the damage, they wondered if the school had actually birthed a genius. Nearby, an old man noticed Tianhao. He walked over and commented that Tianhao's physique was well suited for a summoner. The line struck a chord with Tianhao. It felt familiar, though he couldn't remember where he'd heard it before. He asked the old man if he was really talking to him. In response, the old man revealed a top-tier summoner's staff, offering it for 300 gold. Tianhao was skeptical. To him, it looked like nothing more than a fancy stick, and the price seemed like a straight-up scam. But the old man insisted he was only offering it to him because he believed they were fated to meet. For anyone else, he said the price would have been at least 1,000. As Tianhao held the staff, he could feel its power radiating through him. With no proper summoners guild around, good gear was rare, so despite his doubts, he decided to take it. The old man asked for 300 gold. Unfortunately, Tianhao only had 92. He asked if the old man could give him a discount and sell the staff for 92 gold instead. The old man accepted it as a deposit. He explained that with the payment, the staff would be reserved and wouldn't be sold to anyone else. However, if Tianhao truly wanted to claim it, he'd need to travel to the deepest part of the level 1 Black Abyss maze and retrieve a specific treasure. Only then would the staff be his. Tianhao considered backing out, but it felt too late. Deep down, it was like he'd just accepted quest from an NPC. The old man handed him a paper and said that once he reached the deepest area, everything would become clear. Then he insisted that Tianhao place his fingerprint on it. Tianhao asked why he was being dragged into this man's personal errand. Eventually, he stamped it. The old man grinned and reminded him of their agreement. Tianhao walked away feeling little defeated. After he left, someone approached the old man and respectfully called him Elder Fang. The teacher reported that the testing had been suspended due to the machine breaking down. He suggested the elder return for now. Elder Fang asked if he knew the student. The teacher replied that Tianhao was in his class. He felt sorry for the boy, having drawn the short end of the stick as a summoner. He knew the road ahead would be a tough one. The elder nodded in agreement. At the entrance to the level 1 Black Abyss, the air was cold. Towering before him was a massive structure housing a portal. This place, also known as the Cold Valley Abyss, required a team of 3 to 5 people to enter. It was restricted to levels 1 through 10. Anyone outside that range would be immediately purged by the overseer. Since it had a party requirement, Tianhao knew he couldn't tackle it alone. He pulled up the leaderboard. At the end of the monthly rankings, those who reached the top received generous rewards. Currently, the number 1 spot belongs to Fang Changyun. The reward for first place was a beginner chestplate that grants 30% armor, 20% magic resistance, and boosts max HP by 120 points. Tianhao recognized it as excellent early game equipment. He quickly realized it was worth fighting for that top rank. Someone nearby noticed him and snurred, asking what a bottom feeder like him was doing there. Noticing that he intended to enter the abyss, the guy mocked him, saying he probably wouldn't survive more than 10 seconds inside. Tianhao was growing tired of hearing the same insults. It was Dong and his usual crew. Dong told him to go back home and stick to farming. Tianhao told them to mind their own business. They challenged him, pointing out that the dungeon required a minimum of 3 people. He couldn't even get in. Dong raised his voice, boasting that they had a C-ranked warrior and 2 E-rank mages, then asked the crowd if anyone wanted to join their party. Immediately, people swarmed around them. Everyone was eager to join their team. A priest promoted himself, hoping to be picked. Dong selected 2 party members. His lackeys hyped him up, bragging about his strength and their goal of dominating the leaderboard. Hearing that, the new recruits grew nervous, worried they might slow the group down. Suddenly, the portalust and spat out a skull and bones. That terrified the newcomers. Dong's lackeys grinned and warned them to stay close or else they might end up the same way. The leader then spoke up, saying they should get moving. Tianhao quietly watched them disappear inside. He knew Dong and his crew were bad news. The newcomers likely wouldn't make it out alive. While death wasn't permanent thanks to resurrection, it came with a heavy cost. That's why clearing the dungeon without dying was always the best strategy. Tianhao activated his status window and displayed it above his head. It revealed he was a level 1 S-rank summoner. That drew the attention of someone nearby who nudged his teammates and suggested they invite Tianhao to join, but one of the others immediately shot down the idea. Despite the S-rank, he argued that a summoner was still useless. The woman in the group sighed in disappointment. They thought they'd found someone promising, only to realize it was just more dead weight. They decided to wait and look for better options. Then our MC spotted someone in the crowd. It was Li Shui, a level 1 bard with E-rank talent. Unfortunately, being E-rank meant her buffs wouldn't be very effective, at least not until she reached D-rank or higher. From the look on her face, Tianhao could tell she'd been waiting there for days. He walked up to her and asked if she wanted to team up. She blushed at the offer. Tianhao extended his hand and told her he planned to compete for a spot on the leaderboard, but no one was willing to party with him. Deep down, Li Shui knew that was a long shot, but he was handsome and she didn't want to let the chance slip by, so she agreed to join him. Just a few seconds later, they exchanged introductions. Tianhao reassured her that once they entered the dungeon, he'd handle the monsters. All she had to do was focus on staying safe. Her eyes sparkled like hearts. The thought that he might be worried about her made her feel giddy. She promised she wouldn't be a burden. Now they only needed one more member. Suddenly, a loud voice echoed across the area, calling out Goddess Qing. Heads turned instantly. When Su Qing appeared, she drew everyone's attention, especially the men. She was a level 1 druidess with a rank talent. Many rushed to offer her a spot in their parties, but internally she found them all irritating. A commotion broke out as they fought over her. Tianhao recognized the campus belle immediately. To his surprise, Qing seemed to recognize him too. She stopped right in front of him, staring so intently it made him uneasy. In her mind, she was considering teaming up with him. Then with a playful tone, she acted cute and demanded to be added to his party. The men who admired her were furious and filled with envy. Suddenly, Tianhao found himself in a very awkward situation. Qing grabbed his hand and stepped into his personal space without hesitation. The others began complaining, wondering why he was chosen of all people. Poor Tianhao, he hadn't done anything, yet he was catching all the heat. Irritated, Qing yelled at them, announcing that she'd already joined a party and told them to get lost. Her blunt attitude caught everyone off guard. She rushed off toward the portal. Tianhao called after her, asking why she wanted to join his team. She answered honestly she was aiming for the leaderboard and needed 2 carry-ons. If she could take some trash all the way to first place, no one would ever look down on her again. Her choice of words was kind of hurtful. She told them to stop standing around and start moving. Tianhao sighed, slightly troubled by the fact that they now had a little princess on their team. Shui quietly asked if it would just be the 3 of them. He confirmed it. There wasn't anyone else suitable to join. He told her that if things ever got too dangerous, she should feel free to leave the party and retreat. They stepped through the portal and into the snow-covered dungeon. The cold hit them instantly. Even with the cold resistance gear Tianhao had bought, it didn't seem to help much. Jui offered to cast a low-level resistance aura. She gently plucked her small harp, and a warm golden light wrapped around them. Qing glanced her way and remarked that maybe she wasn't completely useless after all. Tianhao reminded them that they needed to move quickly. They were here to compete for the leaderboard. Suddenly, a pair of glowing red eyes appeared from the shadows. Tianhao stared it down. It was a corrupted wandering wolf level 1. Its stats showed 400 HP, 21 attack, 200 agility, 1 defense. Its skills were plague spread and weakened howl. A tragic creature, its soul was bound to the cold valley abyss, trapped in a broken body. It was considered a standard class monster. Qing recognized it right away. She smiled, saying the timing was perfect. She'd been meaning to get some practice in. Then she transformed into a spirit cat. Watching her semi-beast form in action, Tianhao finally understood what it meant to be a druidess. She leapt forward and immediately charged at the monster. She slashed at the wolf with her claws. Tianhao noticed that the wolf began taking recurring damage. He quickly deduced that her claw attacks had inflicted a bleeding effect. Shui was genuinely impressed by Qing's strength. The wolf dropped loot, wolf pelts worth 20 gold per bundle and wolf fangs that went for 10 gold per bundle. Qing handed the items to Shui as thanks for casting the cold resistance aura earlier. She explained that she didn't like feeling indebted to anyone. Shui smiled, touched by the gesture, and told her she didn't need to be so formal. After that, Qing suggested they keep moving forward. Tianhao gave one last look at the fallen wolf before following. Before long, their path was blocked by 3 more wolves. Without a moment's hesitation, Qing shifted into beast form and charged. She tore through them swiftly, cutting each one down in quick succession. Still, handling 3 at once pushed her limits a little. But she didn't let it slow her down. Her eyes were fixed on the leaderboard. Shui grew concerned the moment she noticed Qing was injured. She offered to cast a low-tier healing spell, but Qing waved it off. The spell wouldn't restore much at this stage anyway. She told Shui to conserve her mana instead. Qing reached into her bag and pulled out a potion and took a drink. Tianhao gave Shui a quiet tap on the shoulder, a small, silent gesture of reassurance. And they kept walking. They stayed alert, scanning their surroundings carefully as they moved. Up ahead, Qing unknowingly stepped directly onto a magic circle. Her instincts fired instantly. She knew right away this was bad. In an instant, a massive hammer came crashing down from above. She barely dodged it. The weapon had been hurled by a corrupted wandering zombie, an elite monster. Level 4, 600 HP, 56 attack, 100 agility, 5 defense. Skills, hammer strike, rotting stench, and devour. A decaying corpse that spawned corrupted wolves. Its brain was nearly gone, but its aggression toward intruders was absolutely relentless. Seeing that it was an elite, Qing's expression shifted. This was going to be a problem. Shui's anxiety spiked immediately. She couldn't believe an elite had just appeared out of nowhere. She asked why it was even here. Tianhao made a guess. Qing's rampage through too many corrupted wolves had probably drawn it out. The zombie swung its hammer at Qing again. She was caught completely off guard by how fast it moved. A blow sent her flying, and she slammed hard into a nearby boulder. Shui panicked and spun toward Tianhao, demanding to know what they should do. The zombie raised its hammer again, already lining up a finishing strike on the unconscious Qing. Without hesitation, Tianhao summoned his demon slime. A thick mist spread across the area, and the slime emerged now at level 3. Tianhao gave the command, Dance of the Demon. The slime shot forward, moving so fast it left nothing but a streak of light in its wake. The hammer came crashing down toward Qing. The ground split from the impact. But the monster froze, visibly startled. Tianhao calmly suggested it take a moment to check whether its attack had actually landed. The slime had already snatched Qing out of harm's way and gently handed her over to Shui. Tianhao told Shui to get Qing somewhere safe and start healing her. He would handle the wandering corpse himself. The zombie wound up for another swing. Tianhao commanded the slime spit. The creature launched itself into the air and soared high above the monster. A devilish grin spread across its gooey little face. The demon slime unleashed a downpour of red corrosive liquid onto the monster below. The creature threw its arms up to shield itself from the spray. Tianhao immediately followed up with another order, Dance of the Demon again. He could already tell the monster's defense was tough. They were only managing about 50% of the expected damage output. He needed a different approach. The monster flinched. It was starting to realize that the slime's attacks could actually eat through its flesh. The slime pressed in again. Tianhao quickly worked out a plan. He commanded the slime to combine Dance of the Demon with strong corrosive slime, targeting the monster's ankle specifically. The slime lunged forward with precision. It struck the ankle dead on. It worked. The monster dropped instantly. Shui continued tending to Qing, channeling healing magic into her. Eventually, Qing's eyes slowly opened. Through blurred vision, she caught a glimpse of Tianhao in action and saw for the first time just how genuinely powerful he was. Meanwhile, Tianhao had been breaking down the fight in real time. The monster's lower body had clearly weaker defenses. He ordered the slime to keep hammering that zone. Slime rained down again. It piled up steadily, rising until it reached the monster's waist. Even the hammer had started melting under the corrosive slime. And with that, the corrupted wandering zombie was finished. Tianhao walked away with 120 EXP, a corpse hammer, 10 wolf hides, and 10 wolf fangs. He leveled up to level 2. He stared at the number in disbelief. That was a massive amount of experience from a single fight. The two girls were just as stunned. Shuai asked if summoners were really that powerful. Qing shook her head. It wasn't the class, it was Tianhao himself. His strength was on a completely different level. Taking down an elite solo wasn't something just anyone could pull off. Tianhao walked over and quietly asked if she was okay. She blushed at the concern. She answered that her injuries were only minor. Shuai mentioned that her healing chant was slow, they needed to stop and rest for a bit, but Qing wasn't hearing it. She reminded them they were racing for the top of the leaderboard, there was no time to sit around. She insisted she could still fight and urged them to keep moving, but her legs wobbled the moment she tried to stand. Tianhao caught her before she went down and steadied her, asking how exactly she planned to compete for the leaderboard if she died trying to get there. She blushed, then reluctantly admitted he had a point. She agreed to rest, but only briefly. Tianhao checked the map and told her there was a cave nearby. They'd spend the night there. They arrived at the cave shortly after. Tianhao suggested the girls rest inside while he kept watch outside. Shuai, completely drained from overusing her magic, was out cold the moment she lay down. They both blinked at how fast she knocked out. Tianhao gently urged Qing to get some rest as well. Just before he stepped outside, Qing quietly said it. She thanked him for saving her earlier. Tianhao didn't respond right away, he just looked at her. Her face went red almost immediately. She quickly added that she wasn't the type to forget a favor. Then, clearly flustered, she turned away and mumbled for him to pretend she never said anything. Tianhao couldn't help but smile. Beneath all that sharp attitude, the tsundere noble girl had a genuinely sincere heart. From inside the cave, Qing peeked out and watched him walk away. Outside, alone now, Tianhao decided to review his status after leveling up to 3. Level 3, HP up from 800 to 1200, MP up from 300 to 400. Attack power jumped from 12 to 40. Spirit increased from 80 to 100. Defense went from 1 to 2. Agility improved from 50 to 55 and luck climbed from 10 to 20. His talent, Demonic Sacrifice, remained at SSS rank and a new skill had unlocked, fully armed at level 1. This skill allowed his spirit to shield his summoned creatures and boost all their stats. His current summon slot capacity was now 1 out of 2. Tianhao smiled, genuinely pleased with the progress. He activated fully armed and honestly, it wasn't bad at all. It worked just like a buff-type enhancement. His HP rose by 400 and that boost alone was enough to let him level up the slime 4 more times. Still, he knew that if he couldn't keep increasing his HP cap, he'd need to find another way to work around the limitation. Though he used Convert, transferring 400 HP. His HP dropped back down to 800, while the demon slime jumped all the way to level 7. Its stats saw a serious boost across the board, HP up to 1400, attack power hit 140, agility reached 120, defense climbed to 7, and it unlocked a new skill, Split. Tianhao was curious. Were the slime's clones any different from the original? He decided to test it out right then. The demon slime leapt into the air, once it had put some distance between itself and Tianhao. He gave the command Split. Sure enough, the slime's body divided cleanly into 2. Tianhao observed closely. He checked the stats on both. Each clone was level 7, 700 HP, 140 attack power, 130 agility, 4 defense, and all the same skills except Split wasn't available for the copies. So in short, HP halved, agility bumped up slightly, defense dropped. He wondered how long the effect would last. Then a timer appeared above the demon slime's 3 minutes. Tianhao stared at it. That was not a lot of time. Suddenly, something stirred from inside the cave. Every one of his senses went on high alert. Something was wrong, the girls were in danger. He sprinted back inside. What he saw made his heart stop. Shuai and Qing were standing face to face with a massive monster. Without hesitation, Tianhao ordered the slime to split and engage. The slimes lunged forward and attacked. The result, minus 25 damage. Tianhao's eyes went wide. That was barely anything. The monster was a giant snow rabbit level 8. Stats, 800 HP, 80 attack power, 500 agility, 6 defense. And it looked absolutely bizarre, a humanoid creature with a rabbit's head and body walking upright on 2 legs. Snow rabbits thrived year-round in frozen environments, their dense fur making them naturally resistant to basic attacks. Shuai and Qing both broke into a cold sweat. With a 6-level gap between them and that thing, they knew they had no business fighting it head-on. The snow rabbit opened its mouth unnaturally wide, then it lunged straight at Tianhao. Qing shouted at him to watch out. Tianhao shrugged it off. It was just a rabbit. The demon slime fired back with slime spit. But while the snow rabbit was mid-charge, it vanished. The slime's attack missed completely, splattering on the ground. In the blink of an eye, the snow rabbit reappeared directly behind the demon slime and launched a powerful kick. A blow sent the slime flying across the cave. And just like that, the rabbit was on it again before it could recover. It landed a punch before the slime could even get its bearings. The attacks kept coming, relentless. Tianhao quickly ordered the slime to pull back and hit it with Dance of the Demon combined with strong corrosive slime. The slime retreated at full speed. Tianhao watched carefully. The snow rabbit was unbelievably agile, built entirely around evasion. Shui, overwhelmed, asked how anything could possibly move that fast. Jing explained that the snow rabbit was one of the most notoriously tricky monsters in the abyss. Entire teams had been wiped out by it. What puzzled her, though, was why it had attacked them in the first place. They hadn't even entered its territory. Realizing the slime's attacks weren't doing any real damage, Shui suggested jumping in to help. Tianhao found himself in a tough spot. Dance of the Demon had been interrupted earlier and now it was on cooldown. He ordered the slime to fall back, but it kept taking hits as it tried to retreat. Shui, unable to just stand there, made a move to step in. Jing reached out to stop her. Instead, she grabbed a rock and hurled it at the snow rabbit to pull its attention. It smacked the rabbit square on the forehead. The snow rabbit turned slowly to face her. Jing froze. The snow rabbit let out a fierce roar. In a panic, Jing scrambled through her bag and threw a carrot at it. The snow rabbit's eyes lit up. In an instant, it transformed into the most adorably fluffy little bunny and happily munched away at the carrot. All three of them stood there completely dumbfounded. Tianhao realized this monster was just hungry. Jing, on the other hand, had a very important question. She turned to Shui and asked why on earth she had carrots on her. Shui explained she had packed them as emergency rations for the group, but the moment the rabbit finished eating, it glared at them again. Sensing the mood shift, Shui panicked and bolted, tossing carrots behind her as she ran. Naturally, the rabbit chased right after the trail of food. Tianhao did the math quickly. They were almost out of carrots. If they were going to take this thing down, they needed to move now. He told Shui to toss the bag to Jing. Jing looked confused, but Shui followed the instruction without hesitation. Jing caught the bag barely. The snow rabbit's attention snapped to her immediately. Instinctively, she shifted into beast form, then shot a look at Tianhao and asked what exactly he was planning. She leapt into the air just as the snow rabbit swung at where she had been standing. Tianhao didn't have some elaborate 5-step strategy. Just one goal: kill it. The rabbit lunged again, this time coming down with both fists aimed at her. She was caught off guard by how fast it committed. Mid-dodge, she called out to Tianhao, "Are you ready yet?" He told her to lure it into the cave. She got it instantly. Without hesitation, she turned and sprinted straight for the cave. The snow rabbit barreled after her as Jing approached the dead end of the cave. She was certain the rabbit wouldn't be able to stop in time, and just as expected, it slammed headfirst into the wall. Boulders came tumbling down right onto its head. That was the slime's cue. It sprang into action, launching itself into the air above the dazed rabbit, and began raining down sticky, corrosive slime. The snow rabbit had walked straight into Tianhao's trap. He pressed the advantage, commanding the slime to split and follow up with slime spit. The rabbit's demeanor shifted. It grew cautious. Its eyes darted around as it realized it was completely surrounded with nowhere to go. The demon slime wore that devilish grin of its and kept chipping away at the rabbit's health piece by piece. Eventually, the fight ended in their favor. Tianhao let out a long breath of relief. It was finally over. He earned 200 EXP and now only needed 100 more to hit the next level. But the battle left him thinking. Even though the snow rabbit was only level 6, the slime had genuinely struggled against it. He realized the slime excelled at area of effect attacks but fell short when it came to single-target engagements. If they ran into something similar again, things could go south fast, and he needed a plan for that. The girls were visibly relieved that the danger had passed. Shui actually burst into tears. She genuinely thought she was going to die. Meanwhile, Jing was absolutely fuming, scolding Tianhao for using her as bait. He apologized and explained that she was the only one fast enough to dodge the rabbit's attacks. She blushed, taking it as a compliment despite herself. Then she redirected her irritation at Shui, blaming her for bringing carrots into the abyss and starting the whole mess. Shui defended herself. She thought having dry rations was a reasonable idea. Nobody was going to turn down food down here. Jing huffed and told her to pack every last one of them into her inventory. Before she could finish, Tianhao stopped her. He pointed out that defeating just one snow rabbit had yielded 200 EXP, the highest they'd seen so far. If they could keep luring more into traps, they could level up significantly faster. The requirement to clear Cold Valley Abyss was to defeat the level 10 Abyss boss, and for that, every member of the team needed to be at least level 4. At the moment, both girls were sitting at level 2 and Tianhao was level 3. That meant they needed to take down at least 5 more snow rabbits to get everyone where they needed to be. Shuai hesitated, worried. They had barely managed to take down one. How were they supposed to handle more? But Tianhao reassured them both. This time they wouldn't be the hunted, they'd be the hunters. Qing was immediately on board. She had no time to waste grinding through monsters one by one. If they could lure the rabbits to them, it was perfect for their goal of cracking the leaderboard. They got to planning quickly. They placed a carrot on the ground as bait. When a snow rabbit crept toward it, they were ready and waiting. They burst out from behind the boulder and launched a clean surprise attack. 3 hours later, the results spoke for themselves. Tianhao had reached level 5 and both Qing and Shuai had hit level 4. They had already been inside the abyss for 5 full hours. Shuai was genuinely pleased. Reaching this level in 5 hours felt like incredible progress. Qing agreed. The previous record holder had taken 8 hours just to clear the dungeon. Shuai wondered out loud if maybe they could beat that record. Qing quickly grounded her optimism. They still had the boss to deal with and it wasn't going to be a walk in the park. Tianhao was thinking the exact same thing. According to the guide, the boss was the Wandering Zombie Leader, a fight that involved constant waves of summoned corrupted wolves and wandering zombies designed to wear teams down over time. With their current setup, that battle could easily drag on for 2 hours or more. Jui asked what the plan was. Qing suggested they recover fully before stepping into the boss room, no point going in half dead. Tianhao agreed. They'd take a 30-minute break. While they rested in the cave, Tianhao used Convert to transfer HP. His total dropped from 1,100 down to 800. He was starting to worry. The HP gains he was working with were getting smaller with each use, and he knew he'd need to find a better solution once they were out of here. The demon slime had now reached level 9, HP up to 1,600, attack power at 150, agility at 130, defense sitting at 9. Its skill set remained unchanged: strong, corrosive slime, slime spit, dance of the demon, and split. No new abilities had appeared and the stat growth wasn't particularly impressive at this stage. Tianhao quietly hoped the boss fight ahead wasn't going to be as brutal as he suspected. Then a loud noise echoed from outside the cave. All 3 of them jolted upright, instantly alert. They rushed outside to see what was going on and stopped dead in their tracks. Standing before them was a magnificent creature, a winged horse with a gleaming, spiraling horn. Tianhao asked in disbelief, what was that? A hidden boss. A unicorn level 10. Stats: 1,500 HP, 120 attack power, 300 agility, 10 defense. Skills: Soul Cleansing Melody, Aura, Horn Thrust, Beast Hoof Stomp, and Falling Meteor. Sacred, noble, and pure, a guardian of the divine beast resting deep within the abyss. It only appeared when the land's life force was being threatened, emerging to drive out invaders and restore balance. Tianhao stared at it in disbelief. A unicorn. He could barely process it. Part of him felt genuinely lucky to have stumbled onto such a rare boss, but looking at those stats, it was clearly far more dangerous than the dungeon's main boss. The demon slime tensed immediately, ready to fight. The unicorn's horn began to radiate energy. Moments later, an eerie glow lit up its eyes. Tianhao went completely still, his eyes vacant, as if he had fallen under the creature's spell. He was mesmerized by the creature's ethereal beauty, completely lost in it. Without realizing it, he had started walking toward the edge of a cliff. The demon slime noticed and sank its teeth into his leg. The pain snapped him right out of it. He whirled around, furious at the bite, then realized what had just happened. He felt a wave of relief, then immediately saw that Qing and Shuai were still hypnotized. They both had that dreamy, faraway look on their faces, completely unaware that they were drifting toward danger. Shuai was already 1 step from the edge. Tianhao shouted for them to watch out. He sprinted over and pulled them both back from the edge, then guided them behind a boulder. They snapped out of it. Qing immediately asked why the hidden boss had appeared. Shuai was confused. She thought the boss was supposed to be the Wandering Zombie Leader. Tianhao figured it out. The unicorn was a guardian of life. It probably showed up because they had killed too many snow rabbits. Shuai pointed out that it hadn't appeared when they were fighting all those undead earlier. Qing explained how it worked. Defeating the minibosses was what unlocked access to the final area. Once they took down the Wandering Zombie Leader, the dungeon would be cleared. But she also made it clear the hidden boss, the unicorn, had far superior stats compared to the main boss. If they engaged it recklessly, they could get completely wiped. Shuai started crying. She didn't want to die and she suggested they just run. Tianhao shook his head. Running wasn't an option. After hunting that many snow rabbits, they had already been marked. Shuai started spiraling, convinced they were all going to die. Tianhao put a hand on her shoulder. He reminded her it was because of her that they had made it this far. They were already at half of the leaderboard record's time. All they had to do now was beat the boss and clear the dungeon. He told her not to sweat it. It was just a hidden boss. and he wasn't going to let either of them get hurt. Ching played it cool and told them both not to slow her down. She quietly thanked them both. A few seconds later, the unicorn let out a thunderous roar. It had found them, they braced themselves and got ready to fight. The unicorn activated Horn Thrust. As it charged, the ground cracked beneath its hooves. It launched itself across the cliffs. Yahello shouted for everyone to scatter. The unicorn landed on the other side. With everyone having spread out, it now found itself surrounded. The dust cleared and the unicorn looked absolutely furious. Then it used soul-cleansing melody. The sound hit like a physical force. Pain rippled through all of them. Tianhao called out to Shuai. She began chanting Sage's narrative for resistance, a lullaby to weaken the enemy, and War God's march to boost their damage output. The unicorn locked onto her. It let out another roar and activated Beast Hoof Stomp. Shuai froze in fear as it barreled straight toward her. Just in time, Ching grabbed the unicorn by the horn and stopped it cold. She steadied herself and drove a hard kick into the unicorn's side. And she taunted it. The unicorn neighed loudly in response. It locked eyes on her as she took off running. When it used Horn Thrust, she leapt high to dodge the strike. She was starting to get a read on the boss's patterns. Then the unicorn jumped too. Tianhao shouted at her to watch out. The unicorn's horn drove straight into Ching's chest. She went into shock. Shuai came running to her side. She begged her to stay awake. Tianhao called for his slime. Seeing what happened to Ching pushed something in him. He wasn't holding back anymore. The slime leveled up to level 9, HP rising from 1,600 to 1,700. Attack climbing from 150 to 160. Unicorn turned to face them. The slime moved in. It drew back and prepared to unleash. Then it let loose a relentless downpour of spit directly onto the unicorn. Shuai watched in awe. They were actually holding it back. The unicorn's biggest weakness was dark element attacks, and the demonized slime was the perfect counter for exactly that. Tianhao told it to keep going. Or corrosive slime poured down onto the unicorn, making it scream in pain. The unicorn tried to break free. It launched itself up into the sky, but Tianhao wasn't about to let it run. He ordered the slime to combine corrosive slime with Dance of the Demon. The slime liquefied into a puddle, then launched itself into the air in pursuit. It closed the gap with ease and got right up in the unicorn's face. The slime cut off its path and the unicorn recoiled in surprise. Tianhao called out to the slime, "Great work." The unicorn came crashing back down to the ground. Furious, it unleashed sonic waves directly from its horn. Tianhao shouted for everyone to cover their ears. While blasting the sonic attack, the unicorn simultaneously drove at the slime. Tianhao told the slime to use Split to dodge. It barely had time to react, but just in time, the slime split, and the horn stabbed clean through the gap between the two halves. Now there were two slimes. The unicorn activated Hoof Stomp. The split had a time limit, so Tianhao knew he had to finish this fast. He commanded the slime to use corrosive slime again. One slime launched itself high into the air, while the other took the full force of the stomp. The unicorn sensed the one coming in from behind. But before it could react, the slime had already drenched it in a heavy coat of corrosive slime. It tried desperately to escape, but the slime clung to it, making it scream in agony. The severe injuries pushed the unicorn over the edge. It went berserk. Tianhao panicked the moment he saw it going into a frenzy. He immediately ordered the slime to back off. The area where the slime had latched on was heavily damaged, badly corroded. The slime pulled back and returned to Tianhao's side. The unicorn stared them down with pure, unbridled rage. Tianhao held his ground, watching its every move, waiting. But something puzzled him. It suddenly stopped attacking. Then he noticed something on the ground, a puddle of purple liquid with small bits of grass scattered near the unicorn's feet. Ching called out, asking why he was just standing there. She pushed herself up and told him to finish it off. Shuai also started moving, but Tianhao told her to wait. Ching had already lunged at the unicorn, and Tianhao watched as she finished it off with a single scratch. The unicorn collapsed. Ching stood over it, head held high, clearly pleased with herself, but the unicorn lay in that puddle of purple liquid whimpering. Ching stepped back, visibly shaken. She hadn't expected it to be crying. Suddenly, a beam of light descended from the sky. It unleashed a sound wave that sent pain crashing through all of them. The force was so intense it made the ground tremble and rocks begin to shift. A boulder was hurtling straight toward them. Tianhao ordered the slime to swallow it. The slime moved to intercept and began absorbing the rock. Its body expanded to accommodate the size. Eventually, the boulder dissolved completely inside it. Tianhao told the slime it did good. But more rocks were already falling. The whole place was coming apart. He told everyone to stay close. Shuai panicked as a boulder nearly crushed her foot. Ching was already moving. She tore through the falling rubble with her claws, weaving fast, dodging debris as it came down around her. Tianhao grabbed Shuai while Ching caught up. The slime immediately formed a barrier around all of them. Ching, breathless, asked what was happening. Tianhao explained the guardian had died and the magic holding this place together was fading. Then something caught his eye and he panicked. A boulder was falling directly toward the unicorn. He told the slime to split and protect it. The slime pushed itself, struggling, but followed the command. A piece of it broke off and shot toward the unicorn. It moved fast and covered the boulder, dissolving it from the outside in. Then it turned its attention to the unicorn and formed a barrier around it to keep it safe. The unicorn coughed up blood. Mountain finally stopped collapsing. It was time to check on the unicorn. Qing asked what was going on. Tianhao explained the unicorn's blood had healing properties. The moment it touched the ground, the land had started to recover. The unicorn shook. Qing suggested they just finish it off and get out of the abyss, but Tianhao stopped her. She demanded to know why he kept getting in her way. And she noticed something strange about the unicorn too. Tianhao realized it. The unicorn was trying to say something. Suddenly, the unicorn jerked upright. Shuai flinched back. Qing insisted they kill it right now. But again, Tianhao told her to wait. She shot back that they didn't have time for this. The unicorn coughed up more blood, then it collapsed, and that's when they saw it, something protruding from its belly. A horn had torn through it from the inside. Qing couldn't believe what she was looking at. Another unicorn had appeared. Qing stood frozen. The once barren, broken land began to bloom with life as the newborn unicorn emerged. She quickly pieced it together. The boss could reincarnate. She lunged forward, wanting to kill it before it had any chance to grow stronger. But Tianhao stepped directly into her path. Once again, he told her to wait. She raised her weapon, but Tianhao didn't budge, so instead she slapped him clean across the cheek. His cheek split open. A single drop of his blood landed on the unicorn's horn. The horn began to glow with a blinding light. Qing was already seething at Tianhao, and while they argued, the unicorn quietly tried to pull itself upright. Then a notification popped up. A contract had been formed. Both women stopped and stared at the unicorn. Tianhao turned to look. A golden light drifted toward him. It gathered right at his third eye, and just like that, he could see the juvenile unicorn stats. Level 1, 600 HP, 15 attack, 100 agility, 2 defense. Skills, soul cleansing melody and beast hoof stomp. In an instant, Tianhao was pulled into another dimension, just him and the unicorn, nothing else around them. This was the outcome he had been counting on. He had noticed earlier that the unicorn was trying to protect the baby inside it, but he never imagined the foal could actually become a contracted beast. And now, just like that, he had a second summoned creature. Qing snapped out of her daze and asked what was happening. She looked around. The unicorn was gone. Then the ground started shaking again. A massive crack split the earth open. Qing grabbed Shuai and pulled her along, shouting at Tianhao to run. But Tianhao knelt beside the fallen unicorn and made a quiet promise he would protect its child. When he finally stood, he found himself surrounded by lush green grass where the unicorn's body had once lain. The system displayed the loot: a fossilized unicorn horn, unicorn mane, venomous unicorn blood, and a cold valley treasure chest. He was busy eyeing the drops while the slime behind him frantically tried to warn him that the ground was collapsing. Then the system congratulated him. He had broken the record. The rankings had been updated. Honestly, he had a feeling that was coming. Meanwhile, Qing was losing her mind. She screamed at him to hurry up and get back. But the ground beneath him gave way. Both girls watched in horror. Tianhao went into freefall. The system asked if he wanted to exit the dungeon. He tapped yes and vanished on the spot. The other two were transported out right after. They stumbled out of the dungeon. Shuai looked like she genuinely thought she had died back there. A moment later, Tianhao appeared. Qing grabbed him by the collar immediately. He tried to calm her down. Everyone around them was fixated on the leaderboard, buzzing with excitement. It hadn't been updated in a long time, so the speculation was going wild. Some were convinced nobody could ever touch Fang Changyun's record. Then someone stepped out of a portal and the crowd swarmed over, assuming it was the record-breaking team. Someone in the crowd called out to Tianhao's party and asked if they were the ones who just shattered the record. A man nearby scoffed and shut that down immediately, said the group was clearly forced out early, so there was no way it was them. Seemed logical enough to most people standing there. Hearing that set Qing off, and Shuai had to physically hold her back before she caused a scene. People started gravitating toward the portal. Dong's party stepped out. He immediately mocked Tianhao for getting kicked out. He strolled over and said he hadn't expected a loser like him to even survive. Then he spotted Qing and asked what she was doing with someone like that. His lackeys chimed in, telling her to ditch Tianhao and roll with Dong instead. Combat class after all. She looked at them like they were something she'd stepped in and told them to get lost. That did not go over well. Dong called over one of his lackeys, Yunfei. Then he made a point of spelling out the massive gap between himself and Tianhao. Tianhao just smirked. He told Dong to open his eyes. That comment hit a nerve. Then the rankings updated. Tianhao's name sat at the top. Dong went completely speechless. His lackeys absolutely lost it. Dong slowly let go of Tianhao's collar. The rest of the crowd was shaken too, especially since Fang Changyun had held that top spot for 3 straight years. People immediately started pulling up everything they could find on Tianhao. One of the lackeys refused to accept it. Yunfei went straight to accusing him of cheating. He brought up the school test incident, insisting that if Tianhao had tampered with a machine before, messing with the leaderboard was well within his capabilities. The crowd started to waver, doubt crept in, the trust they had just barely started to give him was already slipping. And someone in the crowd shouted that they were all being ignorant. Yunfei, irritated by the interruption, demanded to know who said that, and went pale the moment he saw who it was. A group of elites had arrived. Peng Yi, level 7 Berserker B-rank talent, Song Zaiolin, level 7 Priest B-rank talent, Yu Heng, level 7 Light Magician B-rank talent, Murong Shui, level 8 Assassin A-rank Phantom Veil talent. Leading them, Murong Yu, level 9 Swordsman Golden Divine Lion skill A-rank talent. The crowd was completely overwhelmed just seeing the Murong siblings in the flesh. For most of them, it was their first time. The kind of presence they carried, it was unmistakably Murong family energy. Tianhao, for his part, was intrigued. He noticed the Murong siblings carried titles that were genuinely difficult to obtain. What he couldn't figure out was why they were here at a beginner abyss entrance. Families of that class typically access the Black Abyss through private teleportation gates, not the public ones. Though there were exceptions, some family class players chose to enter alongside ordinary folk when forming mixed teams, but Tianhao could see they already had a full party, which made their presence here all the more puzzling. Dong wasted no time introducing himself to Murong Shui. She didn't even acknowledge him. Yunfei called her out for the snub. Murong Shui replied that it was a shame someone like that had apparently made it into the ranks of holy warriors. Yunfei's face went red with fury. Dong stopped him before he could do something stupid. Then Dong shifted his angle, said he didn't mind being looked down on, but he pointed out that Tianhao was a completely different story, a piece of trash who must have used tricks to climb the rankings. He turned to Tianhao and warned him that he got lucky this time, but the next time they crossed paths he would learn firsthand what real power looked like. Then he left. Qing exhaled. Finally the barking dogs were gone. Murong Yu turned his attention to Tianhao, the one who had just rewritten the rankings. He removed his gloves and extended his hand. Tianhao just stood there, not quite sure what was happening. Murong Shui looked at him like he had two heads and pointed out flatly that her brother was offering him a handshake. Murong Yu told her to ease up. Tianhao managed a hello, though he clearly had no idea how to handle this situation. Then Qing stepped in and grabbed his hand herself. She asked Murong Yu pointedly if he was blind because Tianhao was already on her team. Murong Yu held back his irritation and politely asked her to step aside since he was speaking to Tianhao directly. But Qing dragged Tianhao away anyway. She knew exactly what Murong Yu was trying to do and she wasn't about to let him poach her carry. Murong Shui cut through the back and forth. She said straightforwardly that they didn't want to waste anyone's time, they wanted Tianhao. The crowd couldn't wrap their heads around it. The Murong family chasing after a summoner, but then again, Tianhao wasn't exactly a typical summoner, and if they wanted to break records, teaming up with him was the fastest route to doing it. Qing pushed back hard. She couldn't hand him over. If she did, her record was as good as gone. Murong Yu told her to step aside. They wanted him. Some voices in the crowd offered their unsolicited opinions, said it was smarter to avoid making enemies of the Murong family, especially when that party was running 2 A ranks and 3 B ranks. Shui quietly confirmed with Tianhao he didn't want to team up with them, right? Qing answered for him, said Tianhao wouldn't dare. Murong Yu told Qing plainly that she didn't have the authority to speak for him and suggested they simply ask Tianhao what he wanted. Then, as the Knight of the Golden Divine Lion, Murong Yu formally extended his invitation to Tianhao. A system prompt appeared, accept or decline. Qing insisted Tianhao would never do it. He said sure. Qing's jaw dropped. Shui blinked in disbelief. And he said it again, firm as ever. Qing turned to him slowly and asked what he just said. Shui quietly asked if she could get an explanation too. Murong Yu nodded approvingly and told him that was a wise choice. Then he prompted Tianhao to go ahead and confirm on the screen. Tianhao looked at the prompt. Qing snapped at him not to do it. Murong Yu sweetened the offer, said they could break records together, a win for everyone involved. Tianhao pressed reject. The crowd went silent. Murong Shui demanded to know what that meant, but Murong Yu stopped her with a look. Tianhao told them to relax. He clarified that he wasn't opposed to joining them, but they would need to agree to a few conditions first. That set Murong Shui off. She told him that letting a summoner into their ranks was already doing him a favor, and here he was playing hardball. Tianhao took that as a no and started to walk. Murong Yu stopped him and asked what his conditions were. Tianhao said they were simple. First, once they entered the Black Abyss, everyone follows his orders. Second, no one takes his experience without his permission. Third, all loot from kills goes to him. The party looked like they wanted to flip a table. The crowd was split. Some called it unreasonable. Others pointed out that the Murong party was the one asking for help, so it wasn't entirely out of line. But if they agreed, it meant the Murong Guild would be operating under Tianhao's command inside the dungeon, and if they didn't, they were kissing their shot at the rankings goodbye. It was, objectively, a brilliant play. Tianhao asked for their decision. The party members told their captain not to agree, said the man was clearly looking down on them. Jing, meanwhile, looked like she had never been more proud of anyone in her life. She twisted the knife, asking sweetly that if they couldn't agree to his terms, maybe they should just try cracking the rankings on their own. The crowd whispered amongst themselves, calling it an insanely bold move, publicly challenging the Murong Guild like that. But when someone breaks the leaderboard record, even the mayor would show respect. One of the party members looked ready to teach Tianhao a lesson. Murong Yu reminded them all why they were here in the first place. He turned to Tianhao and told him that since he clearly had no real intention of forming a team, he shouldn't string them along. Tianhao replied plainly that he had no patience for people who used their power to strong-arm others into joining them. That one landed squarely on Murong Shui. Murong Yu warned him not to get too ahead of himself and said he shouldn't celebrate just yet. And with that they left. Jing was already ready to bounce too. But Murong Shui had already made her decision. Tianhao was a marked target. After all that, Tianhao wanted to head back into the abyss. He figured 2 more runs should be enough to push them all to level 10, then he felt it, an eerie aura closing in. The 2 women were not happy with him. They had almost thought he was genuinely going to ditch them and join the Murong party. Turns out he never planned to in the first place, which somehow made it worse. He asked them to just hear him out. What followed was a very loud scream. They made sure to leave a few new bumps on his head before heading off to resupply. The cooldown timer for the next entry started ticking. 1 hour, 23 minutes and 41 seconds. Tianhao rubbed his head and complained that it really hurt. He genuinely hadn't expected them to be that ruthless. With over an hour until he could re-enter, he decided to find somewhere to rest. The experience he had earned from taking down the unicorn had carried him all the way to level 6. He still had no idea what abilities the unicorn actually had, so he figured now was a good time to check. He tapped on the screen and attempted to summon it. A bright light appeared. He shielded his eyes. In nothing, nobody showed up. Tianhao looked around, completely confused about where his summon was. The system notified him that the summoning had failed and suggested he check the status. It turned out the summoned creature hadn't hatched yet. A prompt appeared asking if he wanted to confirm the hatching process. He said yes. The hatching process began, estimated completion in 3 days. 3 days. He had no choice but to wait. Then he remembered he hadn't even checked the loot yet. He pulled it up, suddenly very interested. He paused when he noticed a piece of mail waiting for him. He opened it and found a historical record gift pack inside. Along with it came a title, The Fastest Man. He stared at it. He wasn't entirely sure how to feel about that name. He decided not to overthink it. The gift pack was more important right now. Opening it gave him a chance to pull high-level Black Abyss equipment, materials, potions, and more. He cracked it open. 2 chests materialized in front of him. The first contained a named Guardian armor usable by all classes, granting plus 50 HP and plus 1 defense. There were also 2 small EXP potions, each granting 50 EXP on use. Not bad at all. He moved on to the second chest. His eyes went wide. Silver grade, an ice necklace plus 50 magic, plus 10 spirit, plus 5 ice resistance when equipped, and reduces ice-type slow effects by 15%. He also pulled 1 EXP potion granting 150 EXP on use, and a named medium healing potion that restores 150 HP. He hadn't expected silver grade gear to drop from that pack, not even close. Equipment in this world was ranked across 9 tiers: no grade, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, radiant, legendarian, and divine. And he had just pulled silver grade right out of the gate. He felt genuinely blessed. He equipped everything. He could feel the difference immediately. It was enough to put him in full game mode. His updated stats read: title, The Fastest Man, class Summoner, level 6, HP 1100 plus 50, MP 550 plus 50, attack 58, spirit 130 plus 10, defense 5 plus 1, agility 70, luck 26, talent demonic sacrifice S rank. Skill fully armed level 1, spirit power protects summoned beasts, slightly enhancing their stats for 180 seconds. Summon beasts, demon slime, and ice unicorn currently hatching. Summon capacity 2 out of 2. Skill points remaining 2. He was genuinely pleased with how much his stats had grown, and he wasn't about to let those skill points sit idle. He dumped both into fully armed, pushing it from level 1 straight to level 3. Now it reduced spirit consumption when protecting summons, doubled all summon stats, and extended the duration to 200 seconds. That was going to save him serious time when running dungeons. Next on the list, level up the slime. He summoned it and prepared to sacrifice 100 HP, but then he noticed something: there was still room to advance. The screen showed he was 6 levels away from advancement. The curiosity hit hard. What would happen if it actually advanced? He couldn't find the answer anywhere. Though he just went for it, he tapped yes, and watched his HP drop from 1100 all the way down to 500. Wind began swirling around the slime. It built in intensity until it became a full tornado. Yanhao stood back and waited. Slowly, flesh began to emerge from within the slime. Yanhao stared completely in awe. Meanwhile, back at the Black Abyss Plaza, their meeting time had come and gone, and Tianhao was nowhere to be found. Shuai suggested Qing check the team panel. She pulled it up and frowned. According to the map, he was somewhere deep in the forest. She decided to go find him herself. Mirong Yu followed her. Back with our MC, Tianhao was watching a deep red cloud forming around the slime. He had absolutely no idea what was about to happen. When it cleared, standing before him was the slime, now in a demi-human female form. One look at her and Tianhao's face went red, especially since she wasn't wearing a single thing. The slime, for her part, was thrilled to see him. She walked toward him with the gait of a gorilla, which caught him completely off guard. Especially when she launched herself at him and landed right on top of him. She straddled him, which left his face buried in places it had no business being. The slime tilted her head, confused by why he had frozen completely still, face bright red. He grabbed her by the arm and pried her off him, silently swearing to himself that he would absolutely not have any kind of reaction toward his own summons. He reached into his inventory and pulled out a set of clothes and held them out to her. She looked at them and absorbed them. The clothing materialized across her body. He clarified it was meant to be worn, not absorbed. He took the clothes back and helped her put them on properly. It felt oddly like being a parent. Once dressed, a notification appeared: defense increased by 0.1. Yanhao filed that away immediately. Summoned creatures could equip gear, probably because she was humanoid. Curious, he pulled up her updated stats. From level 9, she had jumped all the way to level 15. HP went from 1,600 to 2,700. Attack climbed from 150 to 205. Agility from 130 to 160. Defense from 9 to 20 plus 0.1, and 2 new skills had been added. First, corrosive acid rain. She throws a part of her body to form rain clouds, releasing highly corrosive acid rain over a targeted area and dealing continuous damage. Second, demonic embrace. Once an opponent is wrapped in tentacles coated in strong acid, they get a front row seat to the horrors of hell. High, continuous, single target damage. He checked and confirmed that corrosive acid rain was an upgraded form of her existing skill, while demonic embrace had been unlocked through advancement. Both sounded terrifying. He was genuinely excited to try them out. Meanwhile, Qing and Shuai were trying to figure out why Tianhao had wandered so deep into the forest. Qing checked her map, and they pushed forward. Eventually, she found him. From her angle, it looked very much like he was doing something sketchy with a woman. Shuai, exhausted, asked if that was the right place. Then she got a better look and blushed, while Qing just went straight to furious, demanding to know what he was doing. Tianhao was genuinely startled to see them. He asked what they were doing out here. Qing had her fists balled up as she asked if they were interrupting something. Tianhao went pale. They called him a pervert. He took several more bumps to the head for it. Qing later reasoned that she had no way of knowing it was an advanced slime and blamed him entirely for not explaining beforehand. He pointed out that she hadn't exactly given him a chance to. Then he asked why they had come looking for him. Qing said the meeting time was up, so they had to track him down to get into the Black Abyss. He explained that he had been resting out there and lost track of time. Then the system prompt appeared asking if they were ready to enter. Since everyone was together, they decided to go ahead. A bright light swallowed them whole. Meanwhile, the Mirong party had already been grinding through monsters for a while, and they were getting frustrated. There was no sign of what they had come looking for. Mirong Yu's expression had curdled. He had figured it out. Someone had beaten them to it. He still couldn't fully accept it. Yurong Shui asked what they were supposed to do now. Mirong Yu suggested they simply find whoever took it and offer a high price to buy it back. Mirong Shui smacked him for that. First, it was a 1,000-year mythical beast. Second, this was a classified mission. Song Ziolan, looking absolutely haggard, floated the idea that another guild might have gotten to it first. Mirong Shui told everyone to shut up. She reasoned it had to be a rogue team, unaffiliated, guildless players with no ties to any organization. No other guild possessed the fragments, so none of them could have known the unicorn had awakened, unless a team already inside the abyss had stumbled across it by chance and taken it down on their own. Mirong Yu agreed. His sister was right. The abyss was showing signs of instability and the beast had awakened ahead of schedule. Outside of the Golden Lions, no other guild could have known in advance. So with the mythical beast dead and the abyss in chaos, the difficulty was about to spike hard. The real question was who on earth had actually defeated it. Murong Shui proposed a direct solution. Since not many teams had come out of the abyss recently, they could identify whoever took the beast and simply take it back by force. Especially that arrogant little punk, she meant Tianhao. Murong, you refused. The Golden Lions didn't slaughter innocent people. And beyond that, anyone capable of taking down a hidden boss wasn't going to be easy to deal with. Still, his gut told him the unicorn was with Tianhao. He made the call. Enough deliberating. They would head back to HQ, report in, and decide from there. He made sure everyone understood, fall in and return to the guild. He drove his sword into the ground. Brilliant light enveloped them, and they were gone. Meanwhile, inside the abyss, Tianhao was freezing. Shuai chanted a spell to help with the cold. Qing told them to keep moving fast. Tianhao was quietly getting fed up with her princess mode energy, but he kept it to himself. They pushed through the frost-covered forest. They arrived at the first corrupted dire wolf spawn point. Qing immediately wanted to use them as a warm-up. The grass rustled. Qing was already fired up. Then the dire wolves burst out. Shui's eyes went wide. There were 5 of them at once. Tianhao did the math quickly. The monster count at the first spawn had quadrupled. Qing wasn't fazed by 5. She was confident she could handle them in a single hit. She called out to Shuai. Shuai confirmed she was ready. She drew a melody from her small harp. The music hit the monsters like a wave, and Qing ended them all in one clean strike. She commented that it was almost too easy. They noticed that Qing's upgraded damage was pushing close to 400 in a single hit. She was every bit the combat class she was built to be. Tianhao looked like something was turning over in his head. Qing declared that no matter how many monsters came at them, she'd cut them down one by one. Tianhao wanted to know why the dire wolf count had spiked so much. He asked if it was just a coincidence. But Qing and Shuai weren't interested in theorizing. They told him to keep up. Tianhao figured the next spawn would give him the answer he was looking for. The sky darkened. Tianhao felt it immediately. Something was off. Qing told Shuai to keep the buffs going while she cleared the area. Shuai told her to slow down. Tianhao's gut was screaming at him. The ground shook. The snow swelled upward and monsters erupted from beneath it. Tianhao realized it instantly. They had been hiding under the snow, already in a hunting formation. They were completely surrounded, and there were way too many of them. Shuai's voice broke as she asked what they were supposed to do. Tianhao could tell the attacks weren't random. These monsters were coordinating. They had developed intelligence. The monsters moved in. Qing yanked Shuai back to her feet. While Tianhao stood completely still, he took a slow, steady breath and turned to face the largest monster head-on. As the dire wolves closed in from behind, even Qing felt her stomach drop. She thought they were finished. The wolves were practically salivating, and Tianhao was still smirking. He raised his hand and called out for the demon slime. The party was just getting started. Meanwhile, out at the Abyss Plaza, the sky had turned dark. The people gathered there grew uneasy. Then the ground shook. All eyes snapped to the entrance. Something was moving inside. A voice screamed for help. Then bodies came flying out, except they weren't intact anymore. The crowd froze. Some people couldn't hold it together. Everyone was demanding to know what had just happened. A man dragged himself out, his lower half gone, and managed to gasp out that the abyss was erupting. Nobody knew what that meant. The guards in uniform looked at each other and asked the same question: what was an abyss eruption? Screens appeared displaying notifications that the deceased workers were being transported to the Hall of the Fallen. And when they looked around, every single one of them was dead. The portal kept spitting out skeletons. Nobody could move, and the screens activated again. The abyss difficulty had changed. It was now listed as Nightmare. Most people took one look at that and immediately decided this was above their pay grade. They scrambled to notify the mayor. Police officer grabbed his radio. Inside the abyss, Tianhao was completely surrounded by dire wolves. He summoned his slime. One of the dire wolves on his flank attacked first, but Tianhao didn't flinch. He trusted the slime to handle it, and she did, tearing through the surrounding monsters without hesitation. Slime copies had scattered across the entire area. When the larger monster saw what was happening to the others, it actually looked scared. Bodies were piling up. The humanoid slime leapt out from the chaos and latched onto Tianhao. Qing and Shuai watched in stunned silence at just how overwhelming his strength was. Tianhao told them to fall back for now. They didn't argue. Qing had noticed the monsters were noticeably stronger than before, and for the first time she felt a flicker of genuine worry about whether he could handle them alone. Tianhao stood between the retreating girls and the entire monster horde. He taunted them, told them to come at him, said he'd beat them so hard their mothers wouldn't recognize them. The monsters answered with a unified roar, freaking effective. The dire wolves howled and charged. One of them made a beeline straight for his leg. He ordered the slime to hold them off. She stayed close to him and did exactly what she was told. The dire wolf locked its eyes on them and attacked. Shui's heart was in her throat. Tianhao was being hit from every direction. Qing knew the Wolf King and the dire wolves were operating on a completely different level. He was in real danger. Tianhao commanded the slime to defend. She extended massive tentacles outward, creating a wall of defense. The dire wolves bit into the tentacles instead of Tianhao. Qing and Shui couldn't believe what they were seeing. The dire wolves were taking damage just from biting into it. The corrosive mucus was eating right through them. Another dire wolf charged in and deliberately bit into the tentacle barrier. It tore through a section of the slime but only took minimal damage in return. Tianhao noted that things were getting interesting. Shui asked what they should do since the defensive line was crumbling. Qing told her to keep the heals going. More monsters pressed in on Tianhao. Some charged directly at him while others clung to the tentacle barrier, working together to drag it apart. The women had to stay sharp. The monsters were closing in on them too. The monsters kept taking damage with every bite they sank into the slime. Tianhao confirmed what he had suspected. They were working in full coordination. These monsters had absolutely developed intelligence. Two massive monsters lined up side by side, preparing to hit him simultaneously. Shui broke from cover and screamed at him to watch out. Qing yanked her back and demanded to know if she had lost her mind. Shui was barely holding it together. She couldn't stand watching him take hit after hit. Qing told her she was working on it, but she was backed into a corner. She reached into her coat and pulled out a vial of red liquid. She stared at it. She didn't want to use this. It was a vitality potion, temporarily enhancing physical stats for 1 minute. The catch was brutal. Once the effect ended, she would take double damage for a period after. She made her choice. She uncorked the vial, closed her eyes, and drank. Tianhao ordered the slime to strike now. Shui and Qing had no idea what was happening. The massive monster lost its footing. It went flying and crashed into the snow. Tianhao and the slime walked out of it without a scratch. Tianhao focused his energy. He raised his hand. It activated demonic embrace. The skill hit like a freight train. The monster's body dissolved on the spot, nothing left but bones. The system notified him that the zombie Wolf King had been slain. Experience rewarded. He let himself enjoy that one for a second. While Qing stared in disbelief, he had just dissolved a level 10 zombie Wolf King. The remaining dire wolves cowered. The zombie monster beside one of them glanced over and brought his hammer down on it. Another zombie monster approached. Their bodies began to merge. Fusion skill wrought hammer storm. A fused creature planted its feet and began to spin, faster and faster until it had become a full zombie tornado. Qing couldn't believe a low-level black abyss monster was capable of using a fusion skill, but with the merge complete, both its defense and attack had skyrocketed. She wasn't sure Tianhao could hold out against this. She screamed at him to watch out. The tornado raged forward. Slime wrapped around Tianhao's torso and hauled him out of the way. He barely processed what had just happened. Then the slime started getting pulled toward the tornado. The moment her body made contact with the spinning winds, she dispersed and the damage hit her hard. Tianhao knew if that thing landed a clean hit on any of them, it was game over. Shui broke down crying and asked what they were supposed to do. Qing told Tianhao he did not have her permission to die. She gripped the vial and drank the liquid. The small pebbles near her shifted. Then her body ignited with flame. She was barely recognizable and completely topless. Shui could not believe her eyes. Qing had transformed into her bear spirit form, the white bear. She launched herself forward without hesitation, charging straight at the tornado. Shui froze the instant she saw the bear form. The shock was too much. She passed out on the spot. Her body crumpled to the ground. Qing hadn't expected the elixir to push her all the way to her white bear form, but she could see Tianhao getting swallowed by the tornado. She didn't have time to think about it. She activated her skill beast form, white bear, and let out a thunderous roar. Tianhao panicked when a massive silhouette appeared behind him. He immediately ordered the slime to pull back. The slime didn't move. Then the slime shot forward at full speed, but Tianhao's anxiety didn't let up. He still couldn't shake whatever was closing in behind him. When he caught the shadow of an enormous bear looming over him, his heart sank. He was completely certain he was about to die. He clenched his teeth and braced, but the impact never came. Then he heard his name. It was Qing. She had raised a barrier and blocked the hammer strike dead in its tracks. She yelled at him to stop freezing up and attack. Tianhao activated demonic embrace. The slime's tentacles surged outward and thickened. Qing stared. The raw power behind that skill was something else. But the moment her focus slipped, the fused monster slammed directly into her. It started spinning, picking up speed. She realized it was forming another tornado and screamed at Tianhao to hurry. Tianhao stayed calm. He wasn't about to let them pull the same move twice. He gave the command. The slime's tentacles shot out. They coiled tight around the monster's limbs and neck. Tianhao clenched his fist. That was the signal. The monster detonated. Qing finally exhaled when she saw it fall. Tianhao turned to her and said plainly, her timing had saved his life. If she hadn't shown up when she did, he would have been done. His health bar was already deep in the red. Still, he couldn't help but wonder why had he never seen her transform into a bear before. Ching checked her own status and saw she was sitting at 4,676 HP, dangerously low. She braced herself. The backlash was coming. Pain tore through her body all at once, forcing her to her knees. Then she collapsed. Tianhao rushed over, alarmed. Her form partially reverted to human. She coughed up blood and Tianhao watched her HP plummet to just 10 points. One more hit and she would have been gone. He immediately dug through his bag for a potion. He helped her drink it. Slowly, her strength returned. The white fur covering her body faded, leaving her with nothing on. Tianhao let out a long breath of relief when he saw she was okay. Then, as he looked at her, he realized his hand had landed somewhere it absolutely should not have. His face went a shade of red that had no business existing on a human being. Ching looked up at him, confused, then caught the look on his face. His face was crimson, and a nosebleed was already making its way down. She realized she had nothing on and immediately called him a pervert. He tried to explain that he was completely innocent. She punched him before he could finish the sentence. He hit the ground. After getting dressed, she walked over to him with an expression that could melt steel. She accused him of assault and made it very clear if he breathed a word of this to anyone, she would end him. Tianhao noticed her flushed cheeks and understood. She was mortified. She grabbed his collar and demanded to know if he had heard her. He said yes immediately and swore he hadn't seen anything. Only then did she let go. Still, she told him to watch his mouth. Tianhao could tell she was absolutely not joking. She went to check on Shuai. Tianhao silently vowed to take that secret to his grave. They found Shuai nearby. She was sleeping peacefully, snoring even. Tianhao stared at her. She had somehow fallen asleep in the middle of all that. He shook her awake. She came back to consciousness slowly. The first words out of her mouth were, "Don't eat me." Tianhao asked her plainly if a monster actually wanted to eat her. Did she really think it would let her nap first? Ching added that all the monsters had already been wiped out, so she was safe. Shuai asked cautiously if that was really true. Tianhao confirmed it. And without any warning, Shuai threw her arms around him and held on tight, overwhelmed with relief that they were all still alive. Tianhao awkwardly said it was all thanks to Ching arriving just in time. His face went red again. Ching quickly pulled Shuai off him. Shuai then suggested they figure out their next move. His face turned bright red. Ching pulled Shuai away. Shuai suggested they figure out what to do next. Tianhao brought up the elephant in the room. The black abyss had gotten significantly harder. Ching agreed. She had noticed it too, more monsters, and every single one of them was stronger than it had any right to be at this level. Shuai asked what they were going to do. Tianhao suggested they leave the black abyss. The situation wasn't in their favor and pushing forward recklessly wasn't going to end well. Everyone agreed. None of them had any interest in throwing their lives away. Tianhao opened the system screen. A warning appeared. Exiting early would result in a level reduction penalty. He confirmed the exit anyway. It failed. All three of them froze. Then they saw it. The black abyss difficulty had changed. It was now labeled as special difficulty, nightmare. Shuai started trembling when she realized what that meant. They might be trapped. Ching told her not to panic. Even if the difficulty had spiked, this was still the beginner black abyss. It wasn't unbeatable. Tianhao agreed. The level cap hadn't changed, just the difficulty. Shuai pointed out that even the normal monsters had already been pushing them to their limits, so what were the bosses going to look like now? Tianhao said the priority was to hit level 10 as fast as possible. He kept the rest of his thoughts to himself, but an uneasy feeling had already settled in his chest. Ching told Shuai to follow her. Shuai looked confused and asked why they weren't sticking together. Tianhao explained splitting up meant they wouldn't share experience, so everyone would level faster. And since he didn't fight directly, sticking with him wouldn't actually help them. Shuai understood. She went with Ching and told Tianhao they would regroup once everyone hit level 10. And just like that, Tianhao was alone. An hour later, he had cut through several wolf packs alongside the slime. He finally hit level 10, but the exhaustion sitting in his body felt like it weighed twice as much as normal. While all three of them were now capped at level 10, the black abyss placed no cap on summoned creatures. That said, leveling his summons required sacrifices, which made growth considerably harder to manage. The demonic slime was sitting at beginner rank, level 15. Stats: 2700 HP, 205 attack, 160 agility, 20, 1 defense. Skills: corrosive slime, slime spit, demonic dance, split, acid rain, and demonic embrace. Even so, Tianhao felt like his progress was still dragging. He wondered if it was the class holding him back. His title was Giant Among Men Class Summoner. At level 10, HP 2000 plus 50, MP 750 plus 50, Attack 80, Spirit 170 plus 10, Defense 9 plus 1, Agility 140, Luck 34, Talent Demonic Sacrifice S rank. Skill Full Armament Level 3 reduces spirit consumption when protecting summons, doubles all summon stats for 200 seconds. Summoned beasts, demonic slime and ice unicorn hatching in 69 hours and 34 minutes. Skill points remaining 2. He wished the unicorn would hatch sooner. One more summon meant one less thing piling pressure on him. He cracked open the guide to see if there was any way to speed the hatching up. It actually found something. While he was reading, the wolves appeared and surrounded him. He sensed something bigger behind them. A boss was approaching. Snow and debris scattered through the air as it drew closer. Tianhao's unease sharpened. It felt like the wandering corpse commander had awakened. Then he heard screaming. Xiao and Qing were being chased straight toward him. Yue slipped. Qing turned back immediately to grab her. He activated Spirit Cat Shadow Step, but the monster's attack caught them both and sent them flying. Zhou had completely burned through her mana. Another strike was already coming. Qing stepped in front of her, then something strange ran through Qing's body. She couldn't move. The attack landed minus 2,230 damage. Tianhao immediately ordered his slime to act. Slime formed a net and caught them both. It landed safely inside it, barely. Tianhao rushed over and asked if they were okay. Qing groaned. She couldn't feel her arm. Then a tornado began forming nearby. Tianhao looked up. From within the spinning winds, a massive foot emerged and 2 pairs of glowing eyes stared down. When the wind dispersed, a gigantic figure stood before them. This wandering corpse commander was nothing like the one from before. It looked completely different, almost human. This was the Cold Valley Abyss boss, Wandering Corpse Commander. Level 10. Stats 30,000 HP, 180 attack, 150 agility, 20 defense. Skills Corruption Hammer. Basic attacks apply the corruption effect, causing the target to take 20% more damage from the boss for 10 seconds. Corpse Summon calls in 2 wandering corpses and 4 wandering wolves every 100 seconds. Ice Armor forms a protective ice shell that increases defense by 20. This creature was a corpse reanimated by dark power, hunting through the mountain valley without rest. The glowing crystal core embedded in its chest, that was its weak point. Qing took one look and told Tianhao to run. They couldn't beat this head-on. The boss stomped the ground. Their escape route was gone. The system confirmed they had entered combat. Nightmare difficulty or not, it was still a beginner abyss boss. Tianhao steadied himself. As long as he could destroy the crystal core in its chest, there was still a chance. The boss called in reinforcements immediately and ordered them to attack. Tianhao responded instantly. Slime Demonic Dance. The lesser monsters dissolved one after another. The slime surged toward the boss. Tianhao activated Full Armament. The slime stats doubled on the spot. HP 2,700 plus 2,700. Attack 205 plus 205. Agility 160 plus 160. Defense 21 plus 20. She activated Split Demonic Dance and Corrosive Slime simultaneously. Now there were 2 slimes. It began circling the boss. Both slimes rushed for its feet. One of them was crushed instantly under the boss's step. Tianhao's breath caught. The other slime took the next hit. She was sent flying into a boulder and hit it hard. She went down. Tianhao immediately ordered her to retreat. And in that moment the reality landed. The slime alone wasn't enough. The boss called in another wave of reinforcements. With no other option, Tianhao began chanting the accelerated summoning spell he had just read about. Monsters swarmed him the moment he started. Time was running out. Then, out of nowhere, the monsters surrounding him were cut down. Qing had come back, but she had pushed herself past the limit and collapsed, coughing up blood. Tianhao kept chanting even as the boss raised its weapon to strike. He already knew he wasn't going to finish in time. Then, out of nowhere, a golden light enveloped them. It blazed brilliantly across the entire area. Tianhao froze, completely thrown off. Xiue shouted that it was a defense aura. He watched the incoming attack and felt his chest tighten. Xiue screamed at him to hurry. Her defense aura was only level 1. It wasn't going to hold. He pushed the chant faster. The defense aura shattered. The boss's weapon came crashing into the ground. The shockwave blasted Xiue off her feet. Tianhao forced his eyes upward and saw the egg beginning to crack. At the same moment, the slime wrapped itself around the boss's arm and held on. Finally, Tianhao completed the chant. The slime was violently ripped away. The boss locked onto a glowing blue light. It raised its weapon again, but the light was blinding. Tianhao stared, barely able to process what he was seeing. It worked. The unicorn had emerged. The boss recoiled in shock. Ice spread across its limbs instantly. Qing was barely holding on to consciousness, but she could feel it. The boss had entered its second stage. With what little strength she had left, she told them to run. Tianhao ordered the unicorn to move. The unicorn charged straight at the boss. Wind spiraled violently around its horn as it closed the distance. It leaped. By then, the crystal core embedded in the boss's chest had been completely encased in ice. The unicorn shattered it and drove its horn directly into the core. The boss's body was obliterated on the spot. Qing stared in disbelief. 30,000 HP gone in a single hit. Tianhao was just as stunned. He He turned to the unicorn and asked how it felt. The unicorn looked back at him, calm as ever. This special frost unicorn was level 1, 500 HP, 20 attack, 15 agility, 10 defense, skills, charm, pierce, and its ultimate, rainbow horn. Tianhao gave it a gentle pat and told it good job. The slime immediately climbed onto his back, clearly not about to be left out. He praised the slime too. Without her, they wouldn't have made it this far. He turned to check on the girls. Qing admitted she hadn't expected to be saved by him again, then asked if the unicorn was really his new summoned beast. She said it was terrifying, a level 1 summon taking down the Wandering Corpse commander like that. Even Tianhao hadn't anticipated that much damage. Qing explained it, the Wandering Corpse commander was a dark attribute monster while the unicorn was a dual light and frost summon. That attribute advantage was almost certainly why the damage had been so overwhelming. Tianhao finally understood. The system chimed, the Wandering Corpse commander had been defeated. They watched as the reward calculation kicked off. Nightmare difficulty meant all rewards were doubled. It was a first clear, completed in 3 hours and 27 minutes. They received the first clear bonus, the time bonus, and an additional attack bonus for the one-hit kill. The evaluation wrapped up and the equipment drops began to roll in. Suddenly, Tianhao was pulled into a dark void. An ominous floating box appeared before him. The item was called the Purgatory Spirit Cube, a legendary summoner-exclusive piece of equipment. It reduced attack by 30, defense by 50, and agility by 60, but increased mana by 200. Tianhao stared at the stat penalties, genuinely confused. Why would a legendary item cut his stats like that? Then he read further. The cube had 3 active effects. First, after defeating an enemy, their soul could be sealed and stored inside the cube. Second, by consuming 5 souls, the soul of a defeated enemy could be attached to a summoned creature. Third, unlocks at level 10. It also carried a passive effect that unlocked at level 4. The description read, a spirit from the land of darkness, guardian of forbidden sins. Tianhao wasn't entirely sure he understood how all of it worked. A light above him caught his eye. The Purgatory Spirit Cube fired a beam of light toward it. He saw that the cube now contained 1 soul, the Nightmare Rank Leader's soul. The soul of the Wandering Corpse commander had been sealed inside. The cube had collected it automatically after the battle. Suddenly, a white wolf leaped onto him. Tianhao panicked, then the wolf transformed back into Qing. She laughed and said she just wanted to scare him. He clutched his chest and asked how she had turned into a wolf when she was supposed to be a spirit cat. Qing explained that she had received special equipment. The Immortal Bird Feather, an epic druid-exclusive item that doubled both attack and agility. Tianhao checked its effects and immediately thought it was better than anything he was running. It also carried a passive that doubled the duration of all druid transformations. The first active effect allowed her to shift into a deadly frost wolf known for raw speed. The second let her become a brown bear built for pure strength. And the final effect channeled the power of the immortal bird to transform into an immortal bird fighter, though it came with serious side effects. Tianhao asked what an immortal bird fighter even was. Qing admitted she had no idea either. Given the side effects, she planned to be cautious with it. Tianhao agreed, especially after a battle that brutal, she shouldn't be experimenting with new forms. Then Shuai suddenly called out to them. They turned and saw something tiny hovering near her. Tianhao asked what it was. Shuai smiled and said that from now on, she could protect them too. A tiny pixie descended gently and perched on the brim of her hat. She was absolutely delighted with the equipment she had received, and it was no joke. The item was Sakran's magic hat, a rare set that included the hat she was already wearing, along with a matching staff, robe, and necklace. The full attributes would only activate once the entire set was equipped. None of them had ever heard of Sakran before. Qing hadn't either, so she suggested that once they cleared the dungeon they should head back to school and ask their teacher. Tianhao checked the hat's passive effects. It summoned a protective spirit, tripled all magic effects, and allowed Sakran to actively attack on the wearer's behalf. Active effects 1 and 2 were still locked. He pointed at the tiny pixie and said that was probably Sakran. The passive effects alone were staggering. When he compared it to his own reward, his cube suddenly felt a lot less impressive. His summoned beasts both drifted closer to him, almost as if they were trying to cheer him up. Tianhao smiled anyway. He was just grateful the unicorn had hatched when it did. Without it, they would have been wiped. Qing reached out to pet the unicorn, but it turned its head away. It then trotted over to Shua and happily let her cuddle it. Qing looked personally offended and demanded to know why it wouldn't let her touch it. Tianhao suggested they get moving. The abyss difficulty had spiked without warning and none of them knew what might be lurking further in. He selected leave. A magic circle formed beneath their feet, and they were gone. They stepped out through the gate and immediately drew every eye in the area. The men nearby went red in the face, some of them got nosebleeds just from the sight. Tianhao had no idea what everyone was reacting to. He turned to see what had everyone so flustered. Standing there was a woman with blue hair dressed in barely their goddess-like clothing. Even Tianhao got a nosebleed. The woman looked at him, called him master, and asked if he really didn't recognize her. It took him a moment, but then he realized that was the unicorn. Meanwhile, in a nearby area where medics were treating the injured, someone rushed up to a teacher with an urgent report. The teacher asked what had happened. The man told him someone had exited the black abyss, and the teacher's expression turned sharp as he immediately asked if anyone was hurt. He ordered them to come with him at once, but the man grabbed his arm before he could move. He clarified nobody was hurt. In fact, everyone had come out alive and completely uninjured. The teacher went still, then system screens flickered to life everywhere at once. An announcement rang out. Tianhao, Qing, and Shua had cleared the beginner rank Black Abyss Cold Valley Abyss on Nightmare difficulty. At the same time, the unicorn turned to her master, greeted him politely by name, and stepped toward him. He immediately told her not to come any closer. She grabbed his hand and asked if he didn't want her anymore. Completely flustered, he told her to just say what she needed without moving closer. Juai quietly leaned toward Qing and asked if she was seeing what she was seeing. Qing looked and noticed Tianhao's hand pressed against the unicorn's chest. Her expression darkened. Her anger triggered a transformation. She lunged at him, slashing and calling him a pervert. Shuai asked Tianhao if he needed healing magic. He shouted that Shuai was the absolute best, unlike a certain violent woman. Shuai blushed and said it was perfectly normal for teammates to look out for each other. Qing scoffed and threw her jacket over the unicorn. The unicorn suddenly stiffened. Tianhao noticed immediately and asked what was wrong. That was when they saw several men in formal suits approaching. It was the principal. Every one of them wore a deeply displeased expression as they looked at Tianhao. Before he could say anything, Shuai calmly announced that they were here. The principal heard her. In an instant, someone grabbed all of them. The principal sensed something was off, but when he spun around, there was nobody there. Tianhao was stunned. A familiar voice hushed him. It was his teacher, warning him that the principal would find them. But Qing suddenly demanded to know who this person was. Tianhao quickly told her to calm down and explained it was his teacher. The teacher's eyes were locked on the unicorn. Tianhao asked what was going on. The teacher gave him the short version. The Black Abyss had gone into a full riot and there had been countless casualties. Then, pointing ahead, he said it looked like they had found the cause. Tianhao thought he was pointing at him. The teacher asked if Tianhao had made a contract with the unicorn inside the abyss. Tianhao asked how he could possibly know that. The teacher could barely believe it. Making a contract with it was one thing, but hatching the egg too? That was going to bring serious trouble down on his head. The kid was finished. Tianhao asked what he was supposed to do now. At that moment they were found. Men in black suits materialized around them from every direction. The principal gave the order, capture them. The men in suits stepped forward. The principal noticed the teacher standing among them and moved to question who he was. But the moment the teacher turned around, the principal recognized him and immediately demanded to know what he was doing here, ordering him to step aside. The teacher tried to explain to his senior brother that Tianhao was a student from their school. Hearing that, Tianhao realized his teacher and the principal were fellow disciples from the same sect. The principal wasn't moved. He flatly declared that Tianhao, Qing, and Shuai were expelled, effective immediately. The news hit all three of them like a punch to the gut. He made the formal declaration. They demanded to know on what grounds. He replied coldly it was his authority as principal. That was grounds enough. Tianhao pushed back, expelling them without any investigation made no sense. The teacher backed him up. He pointed out that Tianhao possessed an S-rank talent, a once-in-a-century genius. Was the principal really prepared to throw that away? The principal ordered him to stand down. He was taking them, and that was final. The pressure bearing down on the principal in that moment was immense. Then even more people appeared, tightening the circle around them. A voice cut through the tension, telling everyone to wait. Just the sound of it made the principal flinch. He turned toward the source. Tianhao, Qing, and Shuai followed his gaze. The speaker stepped forward. It was a girl in a black dress holding a black umbrella, a maid and a guard flanking her on either side. She already knew who had cleared the Black Abyss on Nightmare difficulty. Tianhao asked who the little girl was. Being called a little girl was clearly the wrong move. She introduced herself as Jingyao, princess of the DuPont royalty. Tianhao had absolutely no idea what the DuPont royalty was. The principal immediately shifted his tone, treating her with the utmost deference. He informed her that the suspect was already under control and would be taken in for interrogation. She told him to release them. The maid stepped forward and produced a teleportation scroll. They planned to bring Tianhao's group back to the Black Abyss. The teacher's expression went grim. He had heard rumors that the century-level hidden dungeon, the Rift Valley Black Abyss, was set to appear within days. But he never imagined the royal family already had a teleportation scroll. What worried him most was the dungeon's recommended level range, 20 to 50. Tianhao had barely hit level 10. If he went in now, he'd be the first one to die. Jingyao turned to Tianhao and with zero hesitation, called him a peasant. Then she ordered him to join the DuPont royal family's Rift Valley Black Abyss exploration team. Tianhao told her he wasn't interested. That response did not go over well. The principal insisted he had to take Tianhao back. He was still their student. That only irritated Jingyao further. She despised being interrupted mid-sentence. The maid calmly reminded the principal that he had already expelled them. He argued back that the expulsion hadn't been formally processed yet, which meant they were still officially enrolled students. The maid stepped forward and asked the principal in a tone that left no room for argument whether he was defying the royal family's orders. The principal went quiet. Shuai whispered to Tianhao, asking what they were going to do. Jingyao reminded Tianhao that many eyes were now fixed on him after clearing the Black Abyss on nightmare difficulty. Tianhao glanced around. Guards surrounded them on all sides. Their presence was enough to put both Shuai and Qing on edge. Then Qing said she would join. Tianhao blinked. She reasoned that if they stayed, they were getting captured anyway, so they might as well take the risk on their own terms. Jingyao turned to Tianhao and asked for his final answer. His teacher grabbed his arm urgently and told him not to go. Walking into the Rift Valley Black Abyss at level 10 was suicide. Tianhao considered it, then he said he was in. Shuai, seeing that, made her decision too. She was going. Jingyao looked quietly pleased. The maid turned to the principal and told him to release them. He had no choice. The teacher turned to Fang and told him to stop this. Fang replied that he had already tried. The students had made their choice. It was out of his hands now. All the teacher could do was watch with a heavy heart. One of the guards stepped forward and introduced himself, Zhuoxing, captain of the DuPont royal family's Royal Swordsman Guard. The chief butler was Lucy. She carried herself with a cold composure that made her strength obvious without a single word. With the team assembled, Jingyao told them to follow. A tornado formed in front of them without warning. In the next moment, they were transported into a long hallway where Jingyao was immediately met by a line of waiting maids. A massive door slowly swung open. The room beyond it was something else extravagant didn't begin to cover it. Shuai whispered to Qing that something felt off. Qing asked what she meant. Before either of them could react, they froze. Swords and guns were suddenly aimed at them from every direction. Jingyao laughed and said new recruits were incredibly easy to trick. She ordered Lucy to act. But then everyone lurched in surprise as the slime wrapped herself around Lucy and Zhuoxing before anyone could move. Lucy panicked the moment she looked into the slime's devilish grin. Tianhao locked eyes with Jingyao and asked what exactly she was trying to pull here. Jingyao paused. She realized he had already seen it coming. He snapped his fingers. The slime released Lucy and Zhuoxing. Tianhao had already noticed the signs on the way in. Even though Zhuoxing had looked relaxed, his thumb had never once left the hilt of his sword. And Lucy had kept her hand close enough to draw her gun at any moment. As expected from a team that cleared the Black Abyss on nightmare difficulty, his read was razor sharp. Jingyao asked why he let them go when his summon clearly had the advantage. Tianhao replied plainly they were in her territory. If a fight broke out, everyone was going to take heavy damage. As he said it, he also noticed that maids had quietly slipped into the room, knives tucked out of sight. He added that even if her team was higher level than all three of them, that didn't mean they wouldn't fight back. Lucy bowed slightly and explained that the princess had only intended to test his strength. She apologized on Jingyao's behalf. That apology left Qing feeling anything but satisfied. Jingyao then told them that lunch had already been prepared before their arrival. They left the room together. Qing whispered that the royals didn't seem particularly kind and suggested that if it came down to it, the three of them could take them together. Tianhao replied that even if he moved first, he could guarantee the women would be the first to go down, so don't. He told them to stay calm and see what the royal family was actually after. As they walked down the hallway, they noticed murals painted along the walls. Zhuoxing explained that they depicted the history of the DuPont royalty. The DuPont royal family had existed for thousands of years, and their founding ancestor was a summoner. Long ago, when the Black Abyss erupted with chaos, the DuPont royalty had rallied three royal families to attempt sealing it. They failed in the final battle. During that battle, Jingyao's great-grandfather had his soul shattered. From that moment on, summoners lost their connection to spirit stones, and because of that, future summoners were branded useless by the world. And now, Tianhao was the only S-rank summoner to emerge in 1,000 years. They entered the dining hall. Qing quietly pieced it together. Tianhao was clearly the real target of all of this. She whispered to herself, wondering if they were planning to offer him as some kind of sacrifice to their ancestors. Tianhao overheard it and told her she had been reading way too many novels. But when he actually saw the dining spread, even he was caught off guard. Chihua and Qing felt the same way. The sheer level of luxury in that room was completely out of their experience. Once they were seated, Tianhao cut straight to the point and asked what they needed from him. Jingyao explained the hidden dungeon contained clues about the final battle, and she believed Tianhao was the key to uncovering them. Lucy assured him that despite the dungeon's high-level requirements, they would protect him. Any rewards obtained would also go directly to him. Zhuoxing added that all three of them were far from weak, with crystal-grade equipment in hand. Clearing the dungeon was within reach. That immediately put Tianhao on alert. He asked how they knew about their equipment. Jingyao pointed at Shui's hat and revealed that it was a relic of the ancient royal sage, the strongest magic hat in the Saccharine Omen set. Shui grabbed the hat, clutched it to her chest, and asked in disbelief if that was really true. Jingyao said she would explain everything during the journey. Since everyone had finished eating, she suggested they move out. Everything happened incredibly fast. The dining table rose into the air. A magic circle was revealed on the floor beneath it. Jingyao gave Lucy the signal. Lucy stepped into the center of the magic circle. Zhuoxing warned the group that it was starting. Lucy channeled her power and the magic circle blazed to life. Her muscles tensed as the energy surged through her. She unfurled the scroll. A violent wind erupted outward. Light exploded in every direction and swallowed everything around them. They entered the portal. Lucy informed the princess that the rest of the team would be waiting on the other side. Jingyao turned to Tianhao and asked if he was ready. They were still watching her carefully and she knew it. She could tell they hadn't even begun to trust the DuPont royals, and honestly she couldn't blame them. Still, she believed that Tianhao understood the stakes of what lay ahead and she could only hope he saw the bigger picture. Then she stepped through. Jue quietly asked Qing what they should do. Qing stayed silent. Tianhao told them they were going in. Both women looked at him in surprise. He explained those people were strong, so letting them absorb the frontline pressure was the smart play. Then he told them plainly, as long as he was breathing, neither of them was getting hurt. Both women went quiet, cheeks flushing, and they stepped into the portal. At the same time, inside the Holy Golden Lion Union's headquarters, a mage rushed in with bad news for his superior. He had just confirmed it. Not only had the hidden dungeon Black Abyss been cleared, but the level 80 nightmare boss had been killed too. Murong Shui and the others couldn't believe what they were hearing. Murong Yu exploded. Not only had they lost the dungeon rewards, the nightmare boss drops were gone too. He wanted it all back. Murong Yu shouted for them to stop. They were outside the dungeon now and their behavior was a deep disappointment to him. Murong Shui argued that Tianhao was the reason their mission had fallen apart. She wanted to know if they were really just going to let him walk. She looked unsettled. Murong Yu stayed silent, then laughter suddenly rolled through the room. A man entered saying he was pleased to see such loyalty from them. He carried himself like a magician. Murong Yu acknowledged him immediately as the union's president. The president said he would give them a chance to redeem themselves and handed over a teleportation scroll leading to the Rift Valley Black Abyss, the hidden dungeon. He explained that countless rewards waited inside. Any adventurer who survived would walk out exponentially stronger. The members exchanged uneasy looks. The Rift Valley Black Abyss ran from level 10 to 50, a massive range, and Murong Shui knew perfectly well that they had no real shot at it. On top of that, the president revealed that several major unions and all 4 great royal families were already moving to enter the dungeon and fight over the treasures. A Holy Golden Lion Union couldn't afford to sit on the sidelines. He admitted openly that at their current strength, they were not ready to challenge the Rift Valley Black Abyss. But he had a solution. He released his power. Violent whirlwind tore through the room. Members were caught up in it. They staggered as their expressions twisted under the pressure. Murong Yu raised his hand. With that single motion, the wall behind them shattered. Meanwhile, at the portal site, Tianhao and the 2 women stepped through to the other side. They took in their surroundings. Before them stood 2 gigantic statues facing one another with a massive rift splitting the space between them. The land in every direction was barren and desolate. Jingyao praised Tianhao for making the wise choice. It made her feel like the legends might actually be true. Tianhao asked what she meant. She reached into her coat and produced a card. She handed it to him. It was a summon card, legendary grade. It could summon 3 shadow soldiers who would fight until death. He froze. He couldn't wrap his head around the fact that she had just handed him something that valuable. She said it didn't matter, none of their party could use it anyway. She would rather see it in his hands and boost their overall strength. Tianhao examined the card carefully. He hesitated for a moment, then activated it. Light burst from the card and wrapped around his entire body. When it faded, 3 women stood before him, each wearing an eye mask. One had red hair, one purple, and one blue. Tianhao's face went completely red. Their figures were striking and their outfits left very little to the imagination. Just looking at them was enough to trigger a nosebleed. Qing noticed the blood and snapped him back to reality. Tianhao hastily wiped his nose and muttered that the legendary card was huge. He caught himself and corrected it. Powerful. He meant powerful. The three women stepped toward him. They called him master and leaned in far too close for comfort. Tianhao panicked and told them to stop. He could not handle this. Then Xiuqing's instincts fired. He unleashed a dragon-sorting horizontal slash. Xue and Qing lurched back in surprise. Lucy immediately moved to Jingyao's side. Jingyao commented that Tianhao was still a rookie. He hadn't even sensed the threat. Tianhao turned his head. An explosion ripped through the distance. Xiuqing reported a mad demon hedgehog level 30. Xue went pale. Xiuqing warned them this was only the beginning. Several hedgehogs charged at them. Lucy spotted one closing in fast. She kicked it upward. As it flew into the air, its underbelly split open, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. Lucy fired. It exploded in midair. On the other side, Xiuqing squared off against another hedgehog. He sliced through it cleanly. The last remaining hedgehog burrowed into the ground. Tianhao moved to call his slime, but before he could act, one of the summoned women was already in motion. She brought her hammer down and crushed the hedgehog straight into the earth. Tianhao stared, then two hedgehogs came barreling directly at Jingyao. She raised her hands, they glowed with light. A barrier materialized in front of her. Tianhao watched and asked if she was a defense-type class. She clenched her fists. The barrier detonated outward. She stepped down from where she had been sitting. She told him she was a high-grade psychic. That gave him pause. He quietly wondered if she could actually read his thoughts. The chaos around him pulled his focus back. Xue had collapsed and Qing was desperately trying to revive her while Xiuqing checked on them both. Lucy guessed that Tianhao had a lot of questions but told him to focus on what mattered right now, the monster directly ahead. He turned to look. His face drained of color as he asked what that thing was. It was massive, built like a boar but wrong in every way. It let out a thunderous roar. This was the Elite Boar King level 30. Stats: 5000 HP, 100 attack, 220 agility, 50 defense. Xue and Qing went even paler when they heard the level. To handle a monster like this, an adventurer typically needed to be at least 5 levels above it. Both of them were already mentally calculating an exit strategy. The Boar King locked its eyes on the group. Xiuqing dropped into a combat stance. He struck its tusk with his blade. Lucy opened fire from behind simultaneously, but her bullets barely registered. Jingyao followed up with a fire manipulation skill, detonating a powerful explosion. They waited for the smoke to clear. The Boar King stood there angrier than before and barely scratched. Qing realized at this pace, taking it down would take at least 2 hours. Tianhao noticed Xiuqing's hand trembling. That told him everything. This monster was pushing even the royal family's best. Xiuqing admitted it through gritted teeth. He couldn't cut through its hide. Jingyao explained that normal attacks were useless against it. That was exactly why they had brought Tianhao. She added that to kill a monster with that kind of defense, the defense had to be broken first. Xiuqing and Lucy re-engaged the Boar King. As Tianhao watched the fight, something clicked. The Shadow Army could seep through the smallest gap in any defense. If they could find an opening in the Boar King's hide, they could destroy it from the inside. Jingyao confirmed the thought before he could even finish forming it. That meant Tianhao was the only person here who could actually end this. Lucy called back that they couldn't hold on much longer. Jingyao's expression tightened. Reshaping the Shadow Army required an enormous amount of psychic power. Even her grandfather had struggled with it. Tianhao understood. He told Qing and the red-haired summoned woman to cover him. Qing partially shifted forms. She surged forward at blinding speed, drawing the Boar King's attention. Then one of the summoned women launched herself into the air. She brought her hammer down directly onto the Boar King. Jingyao's eyes went wide. Tianhao had already figured out how to reinforce a shadow weapon entirely on his own. The Boar King roared furiously. The blue-haired summoned woman landed directly on its tongue. The Boar King snapped its jaws shut in rage as its fury hit a breaking point. Then it was pierced from the inside. Everyone froze as it collapsed. Tianhao admitted he hadn't expected the Shadow Army to be that effective. Xiuqing stood there completely stunned. Lucy was shaken too. She knew that without bonding with a Shadow Army for hundreds of years, commanding them with that level of precision should have been impossible. Jingyao cleared her throat and suggested it was probably just a coincidence. She quietly chose not to mention that the Shadow Army also possessed scouting abilities. The Shadow Army could move freely through any terrain. It was the most effective scouting tool in existence and no one had ever fully mastered it. Tianhao asked what she had just said. She looked over and was caught completely off guard. He had already drafted a map. He noticed there were missing sections and immediately started searching for the gaps. Jingyao explained that the Rift Valley Black Abyss only opened once every 500 years. The difficulty was extreme enough that no one had ever produced a complete map. Beyond that, Tianhao's Shadow Army was still low level. Its scouting range was limited to 3,000 meters. Even so, what he had already mapped was the most comprehensive record produced in centuries. Someone wondered aloud whether the prophecy had finally come to pass. Jingyao's gaze settled on Tianhao, then she asked him what level his summoning book was. He asked what she meant. Lucy explained it was the entry-level summoning book issued upon registration at the Summoner Association. She asked if he had one. Tianhao looked confused. He did have a book, but it hadn't come from any association. His teacher had given it to him. Zhuoxing's expression shifted as he processed that. Tianhao had cleared nightmare difficulty in the Cold Valley Abyss using nothing but that basic book. That alone confirmed every rumor about him being a once-in-a-generation talent. Then Jingyao produced a book and handed it to him. He thanked her and asked how to use it. She told him to inject mana into it. He did. The jewel on the cover began to glow. He asked what it was reacting to. The power it released shook Jingyao to her core. Without a word, Jingyao, Lucy, and Zhuoxing all dropped to one knee and pledged their absolute loyalty. Tianhao had absolutely no idea what to do with that. The book glowed even brighter. Xue and Qing watched as the book opened on its own and its pages began to turn by themselves. Tianhao didn't stop it. The light intensified and images of monsters began appearing on the pages. He realized what it was doing, recording detailed information on every summon he possessed. Another page turned. Detailed data on the slime filled the page. It turned again and revealed full information on the ice unicorn. Then it clicked. The book could catalog every detail of his summoned beasts in real time. Qing's eyes narrowed. She didn't look entirely comfortable with that. Tianhao decided this thing was essentially a living encyclopedia, and it was his. Jingyao asked if something was wrong. He said he was fine. He told them to get up and asked them to explain the book in more detail. Jingyao admitted they didn't fully understand it either. All they knew was that it had been left behind by an ancient sage. After the final battle, all knowledge connected to summoners had been lost. Over time, summoners as a class gradually vanished from the world. The book had passed through hands for 500 years before her grandfather discovered it, and he had treated it as the single most precious thing in his life. He devoted himself entirely to studying it. In the end, all he had managed to do was make the jewel glow faintly. Lucy shared that even with only a partial understanding of the book's contents, the former king had still become one of the most powerful masters on the continent. Jingyao believed this was the moment summoners would finally rise again after the catastrophe. Because of the former king's work, the DuPont royal family had earned the respect of every nation on the mainland. But before he passed away, he had searched desperately for a summoner worthy of inheriting the legacy and never found one. After his death, the surrounding nations had grown bolder. That was why they had come looking for Tianhao and why they needed his help. As long as Tianhao, the Lord Summoner, agreed to stand with them, Jingyao, as princess of the DuPont royal family, would dedicate the full power of the royal house to serving him. Tianhao was not pleased. They had been testing him this entire time, and only now, when they needed something, were they bowing their heads. She acknowledged it and told him to punish her however he saw fit. Lucy quickly stepped in and begged his forgiveness. She explained that they had spent years searching for a worthy successor, but every candidate they found turned out to be either untalented or a fraud. She added that the royal family had poured endless resources into those candidates, all of it wasted. They simply couldn't afford to keep gambling. Jingyao cut her off sharply. Tianhao asked if they weren't afraid he might turn out to be another fake. Jingyao answered with complete confidence no. He was the only person in 100 years who had made the jewel shine that brightly. Her grandfather had once said that anyone recognized by the book would become the king of the DuPont family. Jing asked if nobody else had ever tried using the book. Zhuoxing explained that many had tried, but those people were already bound to lower-tier treasure books. Once a treasure book binding was established, a summoner couldn't bind to another unless they advanced to the next stage. They had also attempted forced bindings. Every single one ended in disaster. Tianhao had never registered at the Summoner Association, which was why he could bind to it directly. He corrected her, he had earned it. Jingyao explained plainly, if a summoner was not recognized by the treasure book, they would die in the attempt. That landed. Tianhao realized he had been one bad outcome away from death and hadn't even known it. They could only bow again and beg his forgiveness. He told them to stop kneeling for no reason and ordered them to stand. He had no intention of punishing anyone. They obeyed. Jingyao then asked what was written inside the treasure book. Tianhao remembered that he was apparently dealing with a psychic and thought about that for a moment. He looked straight at her and released a subtle pressure. He told her to go ahead and read his mind since she claimed to have that ability. It was a test to see exactly how far she would dare push. Jingyao visibly tensed. She said that even if she had the courage, she would never do such a thing. He pushed again, said that loyal subjects obeyed their king. In the end, she forced herself to comply. The moment she did, she was horrified. Her legs gave out beneath her, and she wet herself. Her entire body was shaking. Lucy rushed to hold her up. What she had seen was Tianhao standing at the center of a terrifying aura with several towering red demonic figures clinging to his arms, legs, and back. The image was the stuff of nightmares. Lucy studied her and asked what she had seen. She could only stare at Tianhao. He calmly told her to explain. She said she saw a red devil descending upon the mortal realm, one that would ignite a revolution the world had never seen. Tianhao told her he asked her to read his mind, not dramatize what she saw. She bowed deeply and said what she actually saw was a red demon standing behind him. He pointed at his shoulder and asked if she was seriously calling it a demon when all it did was try to act cute. She said her grandfather had once warned that if the red devil ever appeared, the world would be drowned in blood and chaos. She was beginning to believe the DuPont royal family had existed for centuries solely to serve the one standing in front of her. Tianhao was starting to wonder if she was entirely sane. None of what she was saying made any sense to him. He remembered he still needed to collect the monster's soul. He took out the cube and extracted the soul from the Boar King's corpse. Jingyao went pale when she saw it. Tianhao now held 2 elite monster souls. He found himself wondering what would actually happen if he implanted one of them into a summon. He noticed Jingyao had gone unusually quiet. He was caught completely off guard when she stepped forward and hugged him. Her chest pressed against him. His face went red instantly, nose already bleeding, as she declared that from that moment forward she would face any danger for his sake. Jing snapped. She grabbed Jingyao by the shoulder and yelled at her to let go, shouting that Tianhao was not someone she had any right to hug. Jingyao fired back without hesitation, called her a commoner, told her to shut up, and boldly declared that Tianhao belonged to her. That made things significantly worse for everyone in the vicinity. Tianhao shoved Jingyao away and told both of them to stop. They were still inside the rift. This was not the time. Jingyao replied cheerfully that she completely understood. He wiped away the nosebleed and asked Jingyao what her actual reason was for bringing him into the rift dungeon. She was just about to answer. Then Zhuoxing and Lucy both tensed simultaneously. They shouted a warning, and arrow was already incoming. A purple beam erupted from Tianhao's Purgatory Spirit Cube. It intercepted the arrow and detonated on impact. The Purgatory Spirit Cube continued releasing a creeping, eerie mist. Tianhao demanded to know who was there. A voice replied, said it was pleased to have finally found him. He waited as the attacker stepped out of the shadows. Everyone's expression shifted the moment they saw her. It was Song Xiaolan from the Golden Lion Guild. Nobody could figure out how she had gotten here. She smiled and said he had done a decent job of keeping himself hidden, but word travels fast when someone defeats the hidden boss of the Cold Valley Abyss. She knocked another arrow and told him he wouldn't be as lucky this time. The arrow launched into the sky. It detonated above them in the shape of a skull. She declared that the rift gem belonged to them now. Tianhao turned to Jingyao and asked what a rift gem was. Jingyao's gaze hardened as she looked at Xiaolan. She told Tianhao she would explain later and warned him that Xiaolan was extremely dangerous. Lucy pulled out her machine guns. She intended to end this before it dragged on. She opened fire, unleashing a storm of bullets from both hands at once. Tianhao's eyes went wide at the firepower. Xiaolan just smiled. She stood completely still as every single bullet bounced off her body. Tianhao went pale. He hadn't expected the guns to do literally nothing. The electric shield hummed into existence around Xiaolan. Lucy froze. Xiaolan laughed at the looks on their faces. She revealed her secret, a platinum-grade obsidian bracelet, immune to all physical attacks below level 50. Whatever weapon you were carrying, it was worthless. Tianhao studied her carefully. Something wasn't adding up. This didn't feel like the Song Xiaolan he knew from the Golden Lion Guild. She felt like an entirely different person. She raised her hand and activated her skill, Dark Rainstorm. The single arrow she fired multiplied instantly. They rained down on the group. Lucy wasn't concerned. Her guns were forged from refined steel, practically indestructible. She looked at the incoming arrows with contempt. Then the arrows punched straight through her barrier. Several struck her body. Zhuoxing rushed in and slashed away the remaining ones. Jingyao's expression went tense. Shuai hurried over to heal Lucy. Lucy told them something was wrong with the arrows. They weren't normal. Fortunately, her constitution as a cleric was exceptional. Anything weaker would have been dead on the spot. Tianhao couldn't understand it. Xiaolan's strength had spiked to a level that made no sense. She was outpacing Lucy, who was already level 30. Xiaolan sneered and told them to stop wasting energy. She told Tianhao to hand it over, and if he cooperated, she might consider letting them live. Zhu Uxing had heard enough. He decided to end her in one move. He activated his skill, Break Cross Slash. Xiaolin responded instantly with void-piercing arrow. She released the bowstring. The arrows collided head-on with Zhu Uxing's slashes. The aura surrounding the arrows tore straight through his attack. A follow-up arrow came flying directly at him. He caught it on his blade. The impact was overwhelming. His hands trembled. His body sagged under the strain. Xiaolin scoffed and said level 30 wasn't anything special. Tianhao noticed her class was completely different from what it should have been. He asked Jingyao under what circumstances someone could change professions a second time. He answered that a second job transfer was impossible. Then she went still. She realized Xiaolin must have made a deal with the Lord of the Abyss. Qing had heard of that method. By forming a contract with the Lord of the Abyss, a person could undergo a second job change, but the price was their soul. Xiaolin laughed and said there was no point in knowing any of that. She was going to kill them all regardless. She activated Void-Piercing Arrow again. She charged forward, unleashing a relentless wave of arrows. Purple energy ripped through the ground as the projectiles spread in every direction. The Shadow Army took the hit. Jingyao's expression darkened with fury. Xiaolin could sense that Jingyao was someone she couldn't afford to ignore. That realization forced her hand. She had to use a certain technique. It placed an extreme burden on her body and could only be used 3 times total. But she was confident that once was more than enough to kill everyone standing here. It was her frenzied bow strike. Lucy stood firm as the arrows bore down on her. She generated small swirling currents of energy around her body, deflecting every arrow. Xiaolin's eyes went wide. In the next instant, Lucy sent every arrow flying back at her. Xiaolin knew she was in trouble. She dropped low and weathered the counter as best she could. Cracks spread across her barrier under the pressure. When the barrage finally ended, she let out a shaky breath. She was still alive. Lucy stared her down and said she wasn't worth the full effort yet. Xiaolin found her insufferable and shifted her focus to Tianhao instead. She crushed a folded piece of paper in her fist. In the next instant, she was directly behind him. Lucy panicked. Xiaolin moved to stab him. Then the cube in Tianhao's hand began to vibrate. A mysterious female warrior emerged wielding an enormous weapon. Xiaolin's face drained of color the moment she saw it. She was launched by a gigantic warhammer. When it was over, there was nothing left of her but a pile of soil. Huo and Lucy stood there in stunned silence. Shuai snapped back to herself first and immediately started casting healing magic on Tianhao. Qing jumped into his arms, relief flooding her face that he was unhurt, which triggered another nosebleed. His face went bright red the moment her chest pressed against him. Jingyao remarked that, as expected of the chosen summoner, even at a low level, Tianhao had managed to defeat an opponent of that caliber. He pointed out that the heir of the DuPont royal family hadn't been able to block a single attack. She made an excuse immediately. She had deliberately held back in order to draw out his potential. Tianhao replied that he completely understood. He then turned to Qing and asked calmly how long she planned to keep holding on. She realized herself and stepped back quickly, face flushed. Tianhao took a moment to appreciate just how useful the Purgatory Spirit Cube actually was. He hadn't expected that even the soul of a wandering corpse commander could hit that hard. A timer appeared 6 hours and 56 minutes, so the souls summoned from the cube had a cooldown. That tracked. A strike that devastating having a cooldown made complete sense. Still, if the wandering corpse commander soul was already that powerful, he found himself genuinely curious what the Boar King's soul would be capable of. Lucy cut into his thoughts and warned him that if they stood around any longer, someone else would scoop up the loot. Yahello asked what she meant about a second job transfer. Logically, a person's strength shouldn't spike that dramatically in a normal scenario. Lucy said getting injured by opponents at that level was an embarrassment to the DuPont royal family. Zhu Huxing and the others could only nod in agreement. She told everyone to stop standing around. She would explain the second job transfer along the way. Lucy and Zhu Huxing exchanged a look and nodded. They moved out together. Meanwhile, in a snow-covered wasteland, a blonde man was chanting. Blood seeped up through the ground. It pooled and spread into a glowing magic circle. 2 men knelt behind him, their bodies trembling. He shot them a single cold glare. Then he turned his attention back to the circle. The men watched in wide-eyed horror as he reached into the pool of blood and pulled a woman out. He looked at her with nothing but contempt. She lowered her head. It was Xiaolin. Panic flashed across her face the moment she recognized him, Mirong Shui. She rushed to explain that what had happened wasn't her fault. He was furious. She had undergone a second job change and she still couldn't defeat a summoner who was only a handful of levels above her. At this point, she had no value left to offer him. She begged him to spare her, but his power was already coiling around her throat. Only the contract she had made with the Lord of the Black Abyss was keeping her alive. He gave her one final chance, fail again and she would become food. He channeled his power into a small mummified doll. She thanked him for his mercy. Then he left for the burial ground, leaving one last warning behind: she could not fail. She bowed deeply until he was gone. The moment he disappeared from sight, her expression twisted into something ugly and she swore she would kill Tianhao. Meanwhile, Tianhao and his companions pressed deeper through a dark, narrow passage, its walls lined with plants and purple flowers. Tianhao was surprised that anything could grow in a place this desolate. Shui's eyes lit up the moment she recognized them: lingzi grass, a premium medicinal herb that sold for serious gold in any pharmacy. She couldn't understand how it was growing wild here. Jingyao explained that a single stalk of lingzi grass was worth hundreds of gold coins, and yet here they grew like ordinary weeds. Their only purpose in this place was to sustain her life. That last part caught Tianhao's attention immediately. He asked her what she meant. She told him this place was the Rift Abyss's hidden dungeon, and it was the final destination of their entire journey. The owner of this burial ground was once one of humanity's pioneers in the war against the Black Abyss. Jingyao stopped there. Then she told them to stop guessing and see everything with their own eyes. All of the lingzi grass growing here had already been contaminated by monsters, which made it worthless on the market. Shuai looked absolutely heartbroken. When she tried to pick one, the mushroom crumbled into dust right in her hand. Lucy handed her a handkerchief and told her to keep moving, so the group continued deeper inside. The path went on for what felt like forever. At the end of it, they arrived at a massive field filled with lingzi grass. Jingyao told them this place was the secret behind the second job change and also the price humanity paid for defying the Black Abyss. A naked woman was bound to a tree. Ching stared at her and asked what exactly they were looking at. Jingyao explained that the second job change was created when the Abyss Lord absorbed the life force of those who had already changed jobs, this woman included, along with all the original team members. They had all become nourishment for the Abyss Lord, which was why the Black Abyss had twisted into what it was now. The Abyss Lord had stolen the life energy of job changers, and in return, ordinary people were given the chance to undergo a second job change. But anyone who accepted that second job change had their soul seized by demons, and if they disobeyed, they could be reduced to dust at any moment. Tianhao frowned. She had known all of this from the start, and now he had even less idea what her real reason was for bringing him into the Rift Abyss. Then she suddenly grabbed his forearm and told him her goal was to put an end to all of it. Tianhao asked the obvious question: how was he supposed to do that? She told him only a summoner's hand could call forth the final traces of spiritual power, the hearts left behind by the original team members, and use them to stop the Abyss Lord's plan of destruction. The moment Tianhao touched it, a golden light burst out. The light gathered at the woman's chest, and when it faded, an emblem of holy light was revealed. Tianhao had no clue what that holy light was even supposed to do. Lucy revealed that the woman before him was actually the first-generation human holy cleric, Jiang Qing Shui. That revelation hit Tianhao hard. He stared at her much more carefully now. Jingyao noticed the spirit stone in his hand and explained that it had reacted because of his overwhelming spiritual summoning talent as an S-rank summoner. Unexpectedly, Qing Shui's spirit stone turned out to be a protective charm. And the moment it activated, she woke up and shouted for them to give it back. The anger on her face made everyone tense up immediately. Tianhao told everyone to get back, and right then plants lined with sharp teeth burst out of the ground. Qing transformed instantly and took a combat stance. Jiang Qing Shui released her power. Jingyao felt the danger immediately. Qing Shui's energy condensed into a single orb, and she fired it straight at them. It barely managed to raise a barrier in time, but it shattered almost instantly. Jingyao and Tianhao were blown away. They slammed hard into the mountainside. Jingyao cursed under her breath. Tianhao asked her what in the world was happening. She snapped at him to stop talking and transfer his power to her now. She was sitting on his lap and gripping both his hands, which instantly turned his face red. He asked how exactly he was supposed to transfer it. She urgently told him to use restoration magic. Tianhao had a pretty strong idea what she meant, but he needed to be sure. Meanwhile, Shuai, Yuxing, and Qing were growing more and more anxious as Qing Shui prepared another attack. Yuxing drew his sword, then stepped directly into the beam's path and swung his blade straight at it. He shouted to Jingyao that he couldn't hold on much longer. That only made her push Tianhao harder. At that point, nothing else mattered. She kissed him. Tianhao froze on the spot. So this is what a beautiful girl's lips felt like. His nose started bleeding, but he still kissed her back. Golden light wrapped around both of them. Shuai saw it immediately and pointed it out to Qing. Qing yelled at Tianhao, and right then Jingyao shoved him away. Playtime was over. She had fully recovered, and now she was ready to hit back. The condensed orb of power kept growing, larger, denser, and more unstable. Then another force merged into it, which only made everyone even more terrified. Tianhao suddenly realized what had happened. Jing Yao had absorbed his spiritual power. Jing Shui started preparing yet another attack. Jing Yao coldly told her that someone like her had no place in the new era and should simply disappear. Jing Shui froze in shock as her power suddenly dispersed. Jing Yao released her own power in response. She controlled it with terrifying precision, then drove it straight through Jiang Qing Shui. Jing Yao admitted she hadn't expected Tianhao's spiritual power to be this strong. But she got distracted for a split second when Lucy suddenly pointed at something and called out. The Lingzi grass was falling. It was gathering around Qing Shui. Jing Yao told her to stop struggling, but Qing Shui only screamed louder. Jing Yao instantly sensed danger. Series of sonic wave attacks exploded outward. Jing Yao took the hit directly. Tianhao immediately summoned his slime to help her. Slime caught her midair. Jing Yao told him not to worry about her. She tried to force herself back up and keep fighting, but Tianhao stopped her. He said she had already done so much for him and he couldn't ask her to keep fighting in his place. He looked directly at Qing Shui and declared that something born in the old era should be ended by the people of the new era. Then he stepped forward ready to fight with his slime and unicorn. Qing Shui looked horrified the moment she saw him, and that only pushed her deeper into a frenzy. She gathered her power again. Tianhao called for Qing's support. A massive beam of energy shot straight toward Tianhao. He didn't move. To his shock, a gigantic polar bear appeared in front of him. It blocked the attack head-on. Tianhao could only stare. Shui recognized it immediately. It was Qing's bear form. Even Jing Yao had to admit Tianhao's companion was ridiculously strong. The bear gathered what strength it had left and forced the beam away. The attack scorched his paws badly. Then the transformation faded, revealing Qing. She urgently told Tianhao to move. There was a gap in the light sphere he could exploit. Tianhao had the slime use slime spit to flood the area with more slime. Thick red goo splashed all over Qing Shui. Then Tianhao mounted his unicorn and unleashed the Boar King's spirit as the next attack. A massive tusk-shaped force lunged straight at Qing Shui, but she caught it with her bare hands. Her chest was exposed, and right there, a glowing star-shaped mark was visible. Jing Yao saw it instantly and shouted at Tianhao to destroy the demon core. Qing Shui twisted the tree branches around her, blocking Tianhao's path. Lucy and Zhu Oxing both started getting anxious. The situation was turning ugly fast. Qing Shui no longer sounded like herself. She claimed they could never stop the demon's advance. Then she fired multiple beams of power at Tianhao while he was still airborne. He couldn't dodge at all and could only brace himself, but nothing hit him. When he opened his eyes, Qing was standing in front of him. In that transformed state, she looked like some kind of ice fairy. She had taken the attack with her own body. Luckily, one of her skills allowed her wings to regenerate. She told him to move. Now, it hurt Tianhao to leave her there, but he didn't have a choice. He ordered the unicorn to use Rainbow Horn. The unicorn shifted back into her demi-human form. Qing Shui froze in horror when she saw her. Then the unicorn charged forward and drove her horn straight into Qing Shui. After that, she pulled back. Qing Shui screamed in agony. Demon core shattered. Tianhao finally let out a breath of relief. It worked. The dark spirit was forced out of her body. Everyone watched as it fled into the distance. Lucy and Zhu Oxing finally relaxed. At least that part was over. But Tianhao noticed Qing Shui was still unstable, and just to be safe, he made another move. He summoned the Shadow Army to restrain her. The slime and her clone both heeded the command at once. Only then did Qing Shui slowly begin to regain her senses, and thanked Tianhao for saving her. Tianhao was caught off guard by how suddenly her demeanor changed. He stepped a little closer. Jing Yao sensed danger immediately and shouted for him to stop. Qing Shui reached out, her fingers brushed his cheek. Then, without warning, she pulled him in and kissed him. Tianhao locked up completely, and he wasn't the only one. Everyone else froze too. Faces went red all around. A golden glow wrapped around the two of them. When the kiss ended, she told him the world still needed him. That was why she had given him the last of her energy. Tianhao didn't understand what she meant. She told him to go to the Black Abyss Forest. That's where he would find the answers he was looking for. Then her body shattered into light. Tianhao was left holding a small orb. A beam of light shot from it straight into his forehead. The moment he checked his stats, his heart nearly stopped. He had jumped 10 full levels at once, and even his summoned beast space had expanded. He now had 4 beast slots. Before he could even react, the slime threw her arms around him. Yahello asked if she wanted to advance too. She nodded eagerly. The demon slime, tier 1, was now level 15 with 2,700 HP, 205 attack, 160 agility, and 21 defense. Her skills were Corrosive Slime, Slime Spit, Demon Dance, Split, Corrosive Acid Rain, and Demon Embrace. To advance to the intermediate stage, she needed to reach level 30. Cross-level advancement would require double the sacrifice and a 1,600 HP limit, so Tianhao activated Demonic Sacrifice. A magic circle appeared beneath them. Not knowing what was coming, Lucy and Zhu Oxing immediately got up ready to protect Jing Yao. A blinding light burst out, it swallowed the slime whole. And when the light faded, Tianhao was left stunned. Her appearance had changed completely. The once childlike slime now had the figure of a grown woman. Even Tianhao couldn't process what he was looking at for a second. The slime could talk now too. She jumped forward and hugged him tightly. Her chest pressed right into his face and his whole face turned red. She tilted her head and asked what was wrong. He hurriedly said it was nothing and told her to let go, wiping away a nosebleed while she cheerfully greeted the unicorn. Tianhao couldn't help complaining that everyone else got cool summoned beasts, while all of his somehow turned into girls. Then Shuai suddenly shouted for him to hurry over. Qing was about to pass out. His expression changed instantly. He rushed over and asked what happened. Shuai reminded him that transforming into the immortal bird form came with brutal side effects. Jingyao saw how bad Qing's condition was but reassured them that the DuPont royal family had healers. Then, without any warning, an arrow came flying in, shot out of nowhere, and pierced straight through Shuai's chest. Shuai stared down in horror as pain tore through her, then called out Tianhao's name. Tianhao's chest tightened the moment he saw her like that, then Xiaolin appeared. And yeah, everyone was shocked she was still alive. At the same time, a shadow moved behind Xiuqing. He sensed the danger instantly and turned around. Then slashed at it, the shadow scattered, a female ninja appeared from within it, and clearly she was here for Tianhao too. Meanwhile, Shuai trembled as the reality of it hit her. She had been shot. Her pixie frantically tried to pull the arrow out. Shuai weakly told Tianhao that she was happy she got to be with him. Lucy caught Shuai before she collapsed and told Tianhao to guard her while she used healing magic. Xiuqing held the rear line by himself, but the female ninja ignored him completely. She only had one target in mind, Tianhao. Jingyao stepped in front of him and told him to run as far as he could. There was still an hour left before the teleportation array would activate. He was their hope. But Tianhao said no. That answer caught her completely off guard. He was furious that his companions had been injured, and he coldly warned them that there would be consequences for that. Jingyao grew even more anxious. He still had Qing Shui's spirit stone. If he didn't leave now, it would be too late. But Tianhao chose that exact moment to test his own strength instead. Xiaolin mocked him and told him to stop acting tough. She said he only escaped last time because she let him. Then she showed off the power she had gained after being reborn as energy swirled around her. He released a full volley of arrows. Tianhao shoved Jingyao aside. Xiaolin was sure this attack was stronger than before. She was wrong. The demon slime caught the arrow, then swallowed it whole. It was a new skill, Elemental Devour. Purple energy surged violently through the demon slime's body. Tianhao coldly declared that anyone who hurt his companions would pay for it. Then he ordered the demon slime to activate Dissolution Field. The slime melted down and spread across the ground like a living puddle. Xiaolin stared, confused, but the female ninja sensed the danger at the last possible second. She jumped away just as the liquid rapidly expanded. Xiaolin wasn't fast enough. She sank into it and was swallowed whole. The female ninja immediately dropped her Kusarigama. With the entire ground covered in slime, she could only land on the tip of her own weapon. Tianhao gave the next command, Dissolution Field, digest. Xiaolin screamed, begging the female ninja to save her. Her skin slowly dried out until nothing remained but bone. The female ninja coldly called her useless. Meanwhile, the demon slime happily finished her meal. Jingyao was stunned. Tianhao was only level 21, yet he had already unleashed something that terrifying. She couldn't understand where that kind of power was coming from. Once the slime-covered ground was safe again, the female ninja retreated. And she recalled her weapon. And settled into a combat stance, 2 Kusarigama appeared in her hands. She merged them into one. The shift in her eyes was immediate. Jingyao frowned and asked what was happening to her. Black wings burst from the ninja's back as she warned them that no one would escape her grasp. She declared that anyone who dared stand against her would die. Tianhao ordered the slime to continue using Dissolution Field. The slime melted into a puddle again and spread outward. The female ninja sneered and said he was about to learn what real hell looked like. Even Jingyao looked a little uneasy now. The ninja slammed her weapon into the ground and called down lightning. The earth split apart. A gate of hell tore open through the ground. The chaos was so intense that even Tianhao got overwhelmed for a second. The slime began to fall. In midair, she reverted back to her original form. Luckily, the unicorn caught her. Tianhao rushed over immediately. The slime softly apologized. Then the unicorn stepped forward and offered to take her place. Tianhao hesitated. And the unicorn noticed that hesitation instantly. At the same time, the female ninja changed targets. At first she wanted Tianhao dead, now her eyes shifted to Xiuqing, and behind him were Lucy and Shuai. She pointed at them and told them all to go to hell. Xiuqing calmly answered that a sword could cut iron and it could cut the soul too. Then she attacked. A brilliant blue blast tore forward, ripping through everything in its path. Zhuoxing was caught off guard for a split second, but his fighting spirit surged. His arms moved in a blur as he deflected the strike. The female ninja clicked her tongue, clearly impressed that he was still standing. Then her eyes widened. Zhuoxing activated the Sword of the Heart ultimate technique, Phantom Swift Slash. In the blink of an eye, he vanished. The distance between them was erased completely. Lucy and Jingyao both felt a flicker of hope, until they realized the female ninja was completely unharmed. She mocked the technique as nothing more than an amateur trick, then grabbed Zhuoxing by the neck. He coughed up blood and blacked out. She threw him far away. At that point, she was done playing around, but she didn't expect Tianhao to attack immediately, ordering the unicorn to strike with Rainbow Horn. In an instant, the unicorn was already on top of her. The ninja knocked the horn aside with her weapon. Then she barked at them to stop, saying she was done wasting time. With overwhelming force, she smashed the unicorn away. The unicorn crashed down beside Tianhao. Jingyao yelled at him to run, warning that if he stayed any longer, it would be too late. But Tianhao refused. He still had the Shadow Army and the Purgatory Spirit Cube. Jingyao told him neither of those could break through the enemy's defense. Then the unicorn asked him to use demonic sacrifice on her. He hesitated because she was already badly injured, but she told him to trust her. In the end, he agreed. Tianhao activated demonic sacrifice. Magic circle appeared beneath them, bathing everything in red light. Crimson marks spread across the unicorn's body and her eyes turned blood red. Then she stepped forward. The ground shattered under the sheer force of it. She transformed into a demonic frost unicorn, level 10, with 3,500 HP, 120 attack, 100 agility, and 15 defense. Her skills were Demonic Rainbow Horn and Frost Embrace. Frost Embrace released burning ice from the frost hell of the 8 hells, inflicting both frostbite and burn damage. The female ninja sneered and called her just another fool who overestimated herself. She was already preparing to kill again, but then something moved too fast for the eye to follow, leaving behind only a streak of light. The ninja sensed it too late. Her weapon disintegrated before she could even react. Then she felt it. The unicorn was already standing behind her. Even Tianhao was stunned by how powerful the unicorn had become. He immediately ordered her to keep using Demonic Rainbow Horn and never give the enemy time to recover. She acknowledged the command at once, then attacked again. For the first time, the female ninja panicked. The Demonic Rainbow Horn landed clean. Pure terror filled her eyes. A hole was blasted straight through her chest and she collapsed unconscious. The unicorn looked down at the fallen enemy. After confirming she was dead, she happily called out, then ran right back to her master. Tianhao's expression changed and he yelled for her to look behind her. Strange inscriptions began rising from the female ninja's corpse. They wrapped around her body as a beam of light burst out from within. That beam shot straight into the sky with overwhelming force. The sky darkened and a voice spoke from beyond the clouds. It said the female ninja had made a contract that allowed her to reincarnate through the cycle of rebirth. Her eyes snapped open again. She rose back up and spread her wings. Everyone was horrified. She looked down at them and declared that killing her was impossible. Tianhao knew that if he didn't solve this quickly, Qing and Shua were in serious danger. Since killing her outright wasn't working, he started looking for another answer. He told the unicorn that he had a plan. The female ninja mocked him and asked what he seriously thought he could do. Tianhao and the unicorn watched her closely. Then her skill, Voice from Hell, activated. Deafening sound exploded across the battlefield. Tianhao was getting hammered by the effect too. He knew they couldn't keep this up for long. Then the slime suddenly appeared in front of the unicorn. She supported her and helped her prepare for the next strike. The unicorn nodded. The slime coated her body and legs, greatly boosting her speed. And the unicorn rushed the female ninja and vanished mid-charge. The female ninja instinctively looked up. To her shock, she had already been restrained from behind. Tianhao gave the order Frost Embrace. A freezing mist poured from the unicorn's mouth, rapidly sealing the female ninja in ice. Moments later, the ice shattered, taking more than half of her body with it. The female ninja could only watch helplessly as it happened. Eventually, her legs gave out. The unicorn, completely drained, reported to her master that it was finally over. The system announced that they had completed the hidden quest, Black Abyss Burial Grounds. Everyone froze when the screen appeared. The system evaluated their performance. Since the Abyss was on Nightmare difficulty, all rewards were doubled. They also received a first clear bonus and a time bonus for finishing in 16 hours and 45 minutes. After the evaluation, the system announced that a hidden piece of equipment would be dropped. But Tianhao didn't even care about the rewards right now. He only asked to be sent back to the city so the wounded could be treated immediately. Jing Shua and Zhuoxing had all reached their limit. Lucy said she was barely able to keep Shuai's heartbeat stable, and she was terrified it was about to stop. Then, all of a sudden, a circular mirror formed around them, leaving Lucy completely stunned. Looks like the return sequence had finally kicked in, and honestly not a second too soon. Thanks for watching, stay cool, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one.